Number 1. Hypnagogia, the mind's secret art show before you sleep. Our journey begins not in the depths of sleep, but in the mysterious, shimmering borderland that separates our world from the world of dreams. You're lying in the quiet of your room, the weight of the day pressing you gently into your bed. Your body surrenders, your breathing deepens, but your mind refuses to switch off just yet. Instead, it enters a secret gallery, a private theater that opens its doors for only a few precious moments each night. This realm has a name, a beautiful word for a state we've all felt but could never quite describe: hypnagogia. This is the prelude to the dream, the threshold where the unbending rules of reality begin to warp and dissolve into something infinitely more creative. It starts subtly. Behind your closed eyelids, where there should only be darkness, a spectacle begins. You see shimmering lights, waves of soft, pulsing colors that swirl and merge like oil on water. These are not random blotches. They organize themselves into breathtakingly intricate geometric patterns and fractal landscapes that seem to stretch into infinity. This is the mind's raw visual center firing off its last signals of the day, creating a silent cosmic fireworks display just for you. But this abstract art is only the opening act. Soon the patterns give way to startlingly clear images or sensory impressions. Have you ever seen a face appear out of the darkness? Not someone you know, but a stranger rendered in perfect detail, holding a neutral gaze before fading back into the void. Then another phantom image surfaces, a single, forgotten object, like a golden key resting on a velvet cushion, or a lone tree on a hill silhouetted against a twilight sky. These images are not memories, they are untethered fragments, postcards from a vast, unexplored subconscious. They feel significant, yet they are born from nothing. And the experience is not just visual. Hypnagogia whispers to us. Have you ever heard your name called out, clear as day, just as you were drifting off? Or perhaps you've heard snippets of a phantom conversation, voices murmuring words that dance on the edge of meaning. You might hear a beautiful, haunting melody, a complete musical composition that you've never heard before and will be unable to recall by morning. This is the sound of your brain's language centers playing freely, untethered from the need to make logical sense. Beyond sight and sound, there's the profound sensation of movement. You might feel a gentle rocking, a pleasant floating sensation, as if your consciousness is a balloon gently detaching from the anchor of your body. Then comes the most famous resident of this state, the sudden jolting sensation of falling that makes your entire body jump and snaps you back to full wakefulness. This is the hypnic jerk, a fascinating misfire where your brain misinterprets your relaxing muscles as a sign that you are physically falling and sends a powerful signal to catch yourself. Throughout history, this liminal state has been a wellspring of genius. The artist Salvador Dalí famously used it to harvest his surreal visions, dozing off with a heady key in his hand that would clatter onto a plate below, waking him at the perfect moment to capture the bizarre images he had just witnessed. It is a state free from the ego, free from the inner critic, where ideas can emerge in their purest form. So, the next time you feel yourself on the precipice of sleep, do not rush past it. Linger there. Observe the colors, watch the fleeting faces, and listen to the phantom whispers. You are a privileged guest at the most exclusive art show in the universe. But these are just fragments, beautiful and chaotic flashes. What happens when they begin to connect? When your logical thoughts don't just see pictures, but begin to become them? This is where hypnagogia's role ends, and it gracefully passes the baton to our next state of mind, a phenomenon we call the mind drift. Join us as we explore what happens when your thoughts literally melt into pictures.
Number 2. The mind drift, when thoughts melt into images. We left ourselves at the edge of sleep, witnessing the mind's secret art show. But Hypnagogia is just the opening act, the beautiful chaos before a story begins. Now we enter a state that is both subtler and more profound, a bridge that carries us from the world of abstract thought into the landscape of narrative dreams. This is the mind drift. It begins with a thought. Perhaps you're thinking about an email you need to send tomorrow. You mentally rehearse the words, "I need to follow up with a client about the project." You hold this logical, sentence-based idea in your mind. But then, something strange happens. The words begin to lose their shape. The concept of client dissolves, and suddenly you see a vague image of their face. The idea of the project is no longer a set of tasks, but a fleeting picture of a blueprint or a building. Your mind has stopped thinking in language and has started translating in images. This is the drift. You're no longer in control, you are now a passenger. Your internal monologue, the voice that narrates your waking life, fades to silence. It's as if the logical, organizing part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, has finally clocked out for the night. It hands the reins over to the more creative, visual, and associative parts of your mind. Now the images begin to link together, not by logic, but by a strange, fluid, dreamlike association. The client's face might merge with the blueprint, which then transforms into a map of a city you've never seen. The feeling of needing to follow up might become a literal sense of walking down an endless corridor. Your thought has not only become a picture, it has become a scene, a tiny, self-contained universe. The most fascinating part of the mind drift is how passively we experience it. You don't question the bizarre transitions. You don't stop and think, wait, why is my client's face now a map? You simply accept it. The part of your brain that judges and analyzes reality is offline. You are in a state of pure acceptance, watching your own consciousness create a movie from the random leftover files of your day. It's a continuous, flowing process. A worry about money might drift into an image of falling coins, which then turn into raindrops, and suddenly you are standing in a warm, gentle shower. A memory of a conversation drifts into a scene where the person you were talking to is now speaking, but their words are the lyrics to a song you heard earlier. This state is the engine of creativity. It is the mind making connections that it would never dare to make in the harsh light of day. It is the very essence of how a dream is born, not as a single event, but as a cascade of thoughts melting into a river of images. We are drifting deeper now, surrendering control, letting the current of our subconscious take us. The body follows, becoming perfectly still, paralyzed by design so that we do not act out these emerging narratives. But what happens when the mind's journey is interrupted? What if, in this state of complete physical stillness, your conscious awareness suddenly snaps back on? You would find yourself awake, in a body that cannot move, a terrifying glitch in the system that takes us to our next and perhaps most intense state of mind. We are about to explore sleep paralysis.
Number 3. Sleep paralysis. Conscious but frozen. From the gentle flowing river of the mind drift, we are now ripped away and thrown into a state that is shockingly different. Imagine this. You are awake. Your eyes are open. You can see your own bedroom, the familiar shapes of your furniture silhouetted in the dim light. You can hear the hum of the air conditioner. You are aware. You are conscious. You are here. But when you try to move, nothing happens. You try to lift your arm, to turn your head, to call out for help, but your body remains utterly, completely still, as if it were made of stone. You are a conscious mind trapped inside a sleeping body. This is sleep paralysis. While it can feel deeply unsettling, it is a natural biological phenomenon, a temporary mismatch between the mind and the body. During the dream-filled stage of sleep, known as REM sleep, your brain does something remarkable. It sends a signal to temporarily switch off most of your voluntary muscles. This state, called atonia, is a protective mechanism. It prevents you from physically acting out your dreams, ensuring you don't jump out of bed while dreaming you can fly. Sleep paralysis occurs when your conscious mind wakes up before your brain has switched this muscle control back on. It's a glitch in the transition between sleep and wakefulness. The first feeling is often confusion, which can quickly morph into panic. The brain, not understanding why the body won't respond, tries to make sense of the situation. This is where the experience can become even more profound. Your mind, in its attempt to explain the heavy, immobile feeling, might generate a powerful sensation of pressure on your chest, as if something is holding you down. Because you feel vulnerable and exposed, your brain might create a corresponding sense of a presence in the room with you. It feels incredibly real, an unseen entity just at the edge of your vision. This is not a supernatural event. It is your brain's threat detection system going into overdrive, creating a narrative to explain the inexplicable physical sensations. You might hear strange noises, footsteps, whispers, or a loud static sound. These are auditory impressions generated internally by your brain in this mixed state of consciousness. For centuries, before we had the science to explain it, cultures all over the world interpreted this experience through the lens of folklore. Tales of shadow people, night hags, and demons sitting on the chests of sleepers. These stories were all attempts to give a name and a face to this profoundly strange and universal human experience. Knowing the science behind it can be empowering. If you ever find yourself in this state, the key is to remain calm. Remind yourself that it is temporary and harmless. Focus on small movements, like wiggling a toe or a finger. Often, regaining control of even one tiny muscle can be enough to break the paralysis and send the signal to the rest of your body to wake up. This state shows us just how separate our conscious awareness can be from our physical form. It's a stark reminder that the connection we take for granted is just a complex set of signals that can sometimes get crossed. But sometimes the transition into these deep states of mind is announced by something else entirely, not by silence or by a vision, but by a sound, a powerful internal sound that seems to vibrate through your very being. We are about to listen to The Buzzing Void.
Number 4. The buzzing void, the sound that comes before dreaming. We've explored the silent drift into dreams and the unnerving silence of paralysis. But sometimes the gateway to these inner worlds is not silent at all. It is filled with a sound so strange and overwhelming that it seems to come from the very fabric of reality itself. Imagine you are lying on the cusp of sleep, and a faint hum begins. It's not coming from outside your window or from an appliance in your home. This sound is inside you.
It starts as a gentle vibration, a low buzz that you can feel in your head and chest. This is the beginning of a journey into what is known as the buzzing void, or sometimes the vibrational state. As you focus on it, the sound begins to intensify. The gentle hum can escalate into a rushing sound, like a powerful waterfall or a strong wind roaring past your ears. It can become a loud electrical buzzing, like a swarm of 1,000,000 cicadas, or a deep, resonant tone like a Tibetan singing bowl vibrating at the center of your consciousness. The sound can feel all-encompassing, a physical force that seems to shake every cell in your body. For those who experience it, it can be startling at first. Your instinct might be to resist it, to pull back toward full wakefulness. But this sound is not a threat. It is a signal. It is a powerful indicator that your mind is on the verge of a profound shift in consciousness. Neurologically, what is happening is still a subject of fascination and study. It could be the auditory cortex firing off random signals as it powers down for sleep. It might be related to changes in blood flow in the inner ear. Or it could be the sensory experience of your brain waves changing frequency, shifting from the active beta and alpha patterns of wakefulness down into the deep, slow waves of theta and delta sleep. It is, in essence, the sound of your brain's operating system rebooting for the night. This vibrational state is often reported as a direct precursor to other extraordinary experiences. People who practice lucid dreaming or attempt astral projection often strive to reach this state intentionally. They see it as a launch pad. The idea is that if you can surrender to the overwhelming sound and the intense vibrations without fear, you can use it as a point of separation, a moment where your conscious awareness can detach from the physical body and enter the dream state with full lucidity. It's the sonic equivalent of the hypnic jerk, but instead of jolting you awake, it can plunge you deeper inward. It's the sound of the engine of consciousness turning over. It is the static between stations, the moment just before the program begins. It tells you that you have left the shores of ordinary reality and are now in the deep waters of the mind. The sound is a gateway. But what happens when you pass through that gateway only to find yourself not in a fantastical dreamscape, but right back in your own bed? You hear your alarm, you swing your legs to the floor, you start your day. Or so you think. You were about to enter the disorienting, looping labyrinth of the false awakening. Number 5. False awakenings. Trapped in an endless loop of waking up. The buzzing has faded, the dream has ended, and you hear the familiar, jarring sound of your morning alarm. You reach over, slap the snooze button, and sit up. You rub your eyes, swing your legs out of bed, and begin your daily routine. You walk to the bathroom, splash water on your face, and look in the mirror. Everything feels completely, perfectly normal. But then, you notice something is wrong. Maybe the clock on the wall has letters instead of numbers. Maybe when you try to turn on the light switch, nothing happens. Or perhaps the reflection you see in the mirror is just slightly off. And in that moment of dawning realization, you suddenly wake up again. For real this time, your heart pounding in your actual bed. You have just experienced a false awakening. This is not merely a dream about waking up. It is a meticulously crafted simulation of reality, created with such stunning accuracy that it completely fools your conscious mind. It's one of the most subtly disorienting states the mind can produce. The brain, particularly as it gets closer to true wakefulness, is already anticipating the act of waking up. It knows the layout of your room, the texture of your floor, the sound of your alarm. In a false awakening, it simply runs that waking up program as a dream script. It builds a perfect replica of your reality, and you, the dreamer, are none the wiser. The experience can be a one-time event, but where it becomes truly profound is when it turns into a loop. You wake up from the first false awakening, relieved that it was just a dream. You get out of bed again, perhaps laughing at how real it felt. You go downstairs, and then you notice another detail that is out of place. A book is on the shelf that you don't own. The door opens into a different room, and with a jolt, you wake up again, back in your bed. This can happen 2, 3, 5, or even more times in a row. With each layer, a sense of desperation can build. Am I ever going to truly wake up? The experience can feel like being trapped in a psychological maze, a prison built from your own expectations. This state plays with our fundamental trust in reality. It forces us to question our own senses. If something can feel this real, this mundane, and still be a dream, then what does real even mean? It shows that our perception of reality is not a direct experience of the world, but a model created by our brain. And sometimes that model can be a flawless forgery. These loops are a fascinating example of the mind's narrative power. It's not necessarily that you are in a dream within a dream within a dream. It's more likely that you are in one continuous dream that has the story of waking up multiple times woven into it. But what is the purpose of this mental rehearsal? Perhaps it's a way for the brain to safely practice the transition back to the complexities of waking consciousness. Or maybe it's just a creative glitch in the system. The loop of false awakenings is a trap of unconsciousness. But what if you could flip the script? What if, in the middle of one of these false realities, or any dream for that matter, you could suddenly realize what was happening and take charge? This is the key that unlocks the door, leading us from being a passive audience to becoming the director of the dream. We are now ready for lucid dreaming. Number 6. Lucid dreaming. Becoming the director of your own inner movie. We've been passengers on this journey so far, drifting through strange landscapes, trapped in loops of false reality. In all these states, we are subject to the whims of our subconscious mind. But now, we arrive at a state that changes the rules of the game entirely. This is where we stop being the dreamer and become the architect of the dream. This is lucid dreaming. A lucid dream is any dream in which you know you are dreaming. It is the ultimate aha moment. You could be flying over a city made of glass, talking to a historical figure, or running from a shadowy creature, when a spark of rational thought breaks through the narrative. You might notice your hands have 6 fingers, or you might try to read a sentence that keeps changing. In that instant, your conscious mind switches on within the dreamscape. The realization washes over you. This isn't real. I am dreaming. The world around you, which seconds ago felt completely solid,
now reveals itself as a magnificent, malleable projection of your own mind. For a first-time lucid dreamer, this moment of awareness is often so exciting that they wake up immediately. But with practice, you can learn to stabilize the dream. Techniques are simple, yet powerful. You can spin around in a circle to engage your vestibular system. Or you can rub your hands together, focusing on the tactile sensation to ground your awareness within the dream world. Once you are stable, the possibilities become literally infinite. You are standing in a world built from your own thoughts, memories, and emotions. What do you want to do? You can conquer fears by facing them head-on, knowing they can't harm you. You can fly through the cosmos, soar over oceans, or walk on the moon, experiencing the sensation of flight with breathtaking reality. You can practice skills. Musicians can compose symphonies. Athletes can perfect their form. Public speakers can rehearse in front of a phantom audience. Studies have shown that skills practiced in a lucid dream can translate to improved performance in the waking world. But lucid dreaming is more than just a playground for the imagination. It is a profound tool for introspection. You can summon figures from your subconscious and ask them questions. You can ask the dream itself, "What do you have to teach me?" and watch as the world morphs to provide an answer. You are, in effect, having a direct conversation with the deepest parts of your own psyche. This state challenges the very definition of experience. If you feel the wind on your face as you fly, if you feel the joy of creating a beautiful landscape with a single thought, is that experience any less real than a waking one? It's a memory, an emotion, a sensation that becomes part of who you are. Lucid dreaming is the ultimate expression of mental freedom. It proves that within our own minds lies a universe of boundless potential, a place where we are not bound by the laws of physics or the constraints of our daily lives. You have become the master of this inner domain. But even here, in this state of supreme control, the mind has ways of surprising us. What happens when the dream you've taken control of is not the only one you're in? The mind can build layers of deception that lead us to our next state, the confounding puzzle of a nested dream.
Number 7. Nested dreams. The riddle of a dream within a dream. You've achieved lucidity. You are flying through the night sky in complete control of your dream world. Satisfied with your adventure, you decide it's time to wake up. You close your dream eyes, and with a familiar jolt, you open them. You are in your bed. It worked. You feel the weight of your blankets. You see the morning light streaming through your window. You get up, feeling the residual wonder from your lucid adventure. But as you walk through your house, something feels off. The air is too still. The colors are too saturated. You look at a clock, and the hands are frozen. A chilling realization dawns on you. You didn't wake up. You just dreamed that you did. You have woken up into another dream. This is the perplexing and fascinating architecture of a nested dream. Popularized by films like Inception, the idea of a dream within a dream is a powerful one. It suggests that our mind can create multiple layers of reality, stacking one simulation on top of another. When you are inside one, the others feel like a distant memory or a higher plane of existence. The experience can be incredibly disorienting. It erodes your confidence in what is real. If you can be fooled once, how do you know you're not still being fooled now? The false awakening we explored earlier is a type of nested dream. But this phenomenon can be much more complex. You might have a normal, non-lucid dream, then wake up into a lucid one, or vice versa. You could be dreaming that you are telling someone about a dream you just had, with the details of that inner dream being vivid and complete. The mind is a master storyteller, and the dream within a dream is one of its favorite plots. But is it really possible for the brain to run multiple independent dream simulations at the same time? Most neuroscientists believe it's more of a narrative device than a true layering. Your brain isn't actually creating two separate worlds simultaneously. Instead, you are in one single continuous dream that contains the story of there being another dream inside it. The feeling of waking up is part of the dream's plot. It's a testament to how convincing our brain's storytelling can be. It creates the memory of a previous dream and the sensation of transitioning out of it, all within the same cognitive space. This state makes us question the very nature of our awareness. If we can have a dream self who is dreaming, does that imply a hierarchy of consciousness? It plays with the concept of the observer, the part of us that watches our thoughts and experiences. In a nested dream, it feels like there is an observer watching an observer watching a dream. Whether it's a true layering of worlds or a brilliant narrative illusion, the nested dream is a powerful reminder of the mind's infinite creativity and its capacity to build realities that are as convincing as they are complex. We've seen how dreams can contain other dreams, creating intricate inner worlds. But what happens when the boundaries dissolve entirely? What happens when the powerful imagery and emotions of the dream world don't stay confined to sleep, but begin to spill over and stain the fabric of your waking day? We are about to experience the phenomenon known as dream bleed. Number 8. Dream bleed. When the dream world leaks into your morning. You wake up from a night of intense, vivid dreams. The alarm is off, you're in your bed, and the sun is up. You are fully, consciously awake. But something is off. You feel a profound sense of sadness, a heavy weight in your chest, but you can't pinpoint any reason for it in your waking life. Then, a fragmented image flashes in your mind, a forgotten childhood home, a lost pet, a conversation with a loved one who is no longer here. The emotion you are feeling isn't from your reality. It is the lingering echo of your dream. This is dream bleed. It's the phenomenon where the powerful emotional and sensory content of your dream world leaks through the barrier of consciousness and temporarily colors your perception of the waking world. It's more than just remembering a dream. It's feeling the dream long after you've woken up. The boundary between your sleeping self and your waking self is meant to be a solid one, but sometimes it becomes porous. Imagine you had a dream where you were incredibly wealthy. Upon waking, for a few minutes or even an hour, you might carry a phantom sense of confidence and security. You look at your ordinary apartment, and it feels strange, as if it doesn't belong to the you who just woke up. Conversely, if you have a nightmare where you are being chased, you might wake up with your heart racing and the lingering feeling of paranoia. Every shadow in your room might seem menacing. Every creak of the house might sound like a threat, even though you know you are safe. This is the emotional residue of the dream refusing to dissipate. Dream bleed can also be sensory. You might have a dream where you were eating a delicious, juicy peach. Upon waking, you might almost be able to taste it on your tongue or smell its faint, sweet scent in the air. A song that was playing in your dream might get stuck in your head all day, a melody that only you have ever heard. This happens because dreams, especially vivid REM dreams, activate the same parts of your brain that process real emotions and senses. The amygdala, your brain's emotional center, doesn't know the difference between a real threat and a dreamed one. The visual cortex doesn't distinguish between seeing a real landscape and imagining one in a dream. When you wake up, it can take time for your brain to fully disengage those neural pathways and recalibrate to physical reality. The dream world's software is still running in the background. This state shows us that our emotional life is not just a product of our waking experiences. A whole other life is lived each night, and the feelings from that life can have a powerful impact on our days. It reminds us that we are not two separate beings, a waking self and a dreaming self, but one continuous consciousness flowing between two different states of being. The dream world has stained our reality, but we've focused on what comes out of the dream. What about the moments just before it begins, in the darkest and quietest part of the night, when the mind is most open to suggestion? We must now explore the strange and specific visions that can appear in that space, the pre-dream impressions.
Number 9. Pre-dream hallucinations, the faces, shapes, and whispers in the dark. We find ourselves back at the threshold, in that liminal space just before sleep takes hold. We've seen the gentle, abstract colors of hypnagogia. But sometimes, as we sink even deeper toward the world of dreams, the visions that appear are far more specific, more structured, and at times more unsettling. These are the powerful sensory impressions that can arise from the quiet darkness of our own minds. This state is a deeper, more focused version of the initial light show of hypnagogia. Instead of abstract patterns, you might see, with startling clarity, a face. It's not the vague, shifting face from our earlier journey. This one is detailed, vivid, and holds a distinct expression. It might be a person you've never seen, an old man with deep wrinkles, a child with piercing eyes, or a face that seems to be made of shadows. It stares at you from the void behind your eyelids for a moment, and then vanishes. This is your brain's facial recognition software, one of the most powerful pattern-matching systems we possess, firing off spontaneously and creating a person out of pure neural noise. The shapes are no longer just geometric. You might see complex machinery, impossible architecture, or alien landscapes. You might see spiders crawling on the wall, or strange symbols floating in the air before you. Unlike a dream
You are not in the scene. You are a detached observer, fully aware that you are in your bed, yet you are watching these images being projected onto your field of vision. It feels like watching a film that only you can see. The auditory aspect of this state is also more refined. The vague whispers of hypnagogia become distinct words or phrases. You might hear your name called by a clear, recognizable voice. You might hear a sudden loud bang or a crash that makes you jolt, a phenomenon known as exploding head syndrome, which, despite its alarming name, is a harmless sensory event. You might hear a full sentence spoken with purpose, though it often makes no logical sense. These are not external sounds. They are the products of the auditory cortex activating as it untethers from reality. So why does this happen? As you fall asleep, the brain's filtering mechanisms begin to relax. The thalamus, which acts as a gatekeeper for sensory information from the outside world, starts to quiet down. This allows the inner world of the brain, our memories, our fears, our random thoughts, to generate its own sensory data. The brain is essentially starting to talk to itself, and we become privy to that strange internal conversation. These pre-dream impressions have been a source of both fear and inspiration for centuries. They are the visions and whispers that have fueled countless ghost stories and myths. But they are also the wellspring of artistic creation, offering up surreal and original imagery to those who are patient enough to watch for them in the dark. It is a state that reveals the raw, creative, and sometimes chaotic power of the brain when it is left to its own devices. We have now seen the strange visions at the entrance to sleep. But every journey into the dream world must have an exit. What is it like on the other side? What is that slow, groggy, and often magical bridge from the dream world back to the reality of the morning? We are arriving at the final stage of our first act, the gentle, fading state of Hypnopompia.
Number 10. Hypnagogia, the fading bridge back to wakefulness. Our journey through the first threshold of the mind is nearing its end. We've drifted, been frozen, heard the void, gotten trapped in loops, and even taken control. Now we must return. The process of waking up feels simple, but it is its own unique state of consciousness, a slow, gentle sunrise in the mind. This is hypnopompia, the transitional state from sleep back to wakefulness. It is the direct mirror image of hypnagogia. While hypnagogia is the act of reality dissolving into dreams, hypnopompia is the experience of the dream world dissolving back into reality. It's that familiar groggy state where you are not quite asleep, but not yet fully awake. In these moments, dream logic still reigns supreme. You open your eyes, and for a fleeting second, the dream overlays itself onto the real world. The pile of clothes on your chair might momentarily retain the form of the strange creature from your dream. The pattern on your wallpaper might seem to shift and move, just as the landscape of your dream did moments before. You are seeing the world with dream-tinted glasses. This is because your brain is still in the process of rebooting its reality software. The rational, logical prefrontal cortex is just coming back online, while the imaginative, associative parts of the brain that were running the dream are still active. For a few precious seconds or minutes, these two systems overlap. You might see a dream character standing in the corner of your room, or hear the voice of someone from your dream before the illusion fades and the solid reality of your bedroom reasserts itself.
This is also the state of sleep thinking or sleep inertia. Your mind is functional, but it's not working by the rules of waking logic. You might have a brilliant solution to a complex problem pop into your head, an idea that seems like pure genius. You grab a notepad by your bed to write it down, only to look at it an hour later and discover you've written complete nonsense, like, "The answer is the purple triangle." This is the dream mind trying to solve problems with its own strange symbolic language. Hypnopompia is also the time of most vivid dream recall. The dream is fresh. The memories have not yet been filed away or discarded. If you stay in this state without moving, you can often pull back entire dream narratives in stunning detail. But the moment you engage with the waking world by checking your phone or getting out of bed, that delicate thread to the dream world is often severed and the details vanish like mist. This state is a gentle re-entry. It's the mind's decompression chamber, allowing us to slowly adjust back to the pressures of reality. It's a final fleeting moment of magic before the logic of the day takes over completely. It is the fading bridge, and as we cross it, we complete the first part of our journey. We have explored the threshold where wakefulness fades, the strange borderlands of sleep. But we have only skimmed the surface. What lies beyond this shore? What happens when the mind goes on journeys that seem to completely transcend the physical body and the ordinary rules of reality? In our next act, we will unbind the mind and explore journeys beyond anything you've ever imagined.
Number 11. Astral projection, the sensation of leaving your physical body behind. In our last act, we crossed the fading bridge of Hypnopompia, returning to the shores of the waking world. But that shore is not a final destination. It is merely a port from which far stranger journeys can be launched. We now venture into a state of mind so profound, so emblematic of the mind's desire for freedom, that it has captivated mystics, philosophers, and ordinary people for millennia. It is the sensation of leaving the very anchor of your existence behind. This is the experience known as astral projection, or an out-of-body experience. It often begins in a familiar state, perhaps during the intense vibrations of the buzzing void, or in the stillness of deep meditation. You are lying down perfectly calm when a new sensation arises. It's a feeling of lightness, of duality. You become aware of two bodies, the dense physical one lying on the bed, and a second, ethereal body made of light or energy, intermingled with the first. Then comes the moment of separation. It can be gentle, like a leaf lifting off a branch, or it can be sudden and dramatic, a feeling of being pulled or shot out of your physical form. Suddenly, your perspective shifts. You are no longer looking out from your eyes. You are looking down at yourself. You see your own body lying peacefully on the bed below. The room is the same. Every detail is perfect. But your point of view is impossible. You are floating near the ceiling, a silent, disembodied observer. The initial feeling is often one of shock and disbelief, quickly followed by an incredible sense of liberation. You are pure consciousness, untethered from physical limitations. There is no weight, no pain, no physical needs. There is only awareness. Those who report this experience describe moving effortlessly. A simple thought or intention can propel you across the room. You can pass through solid walls and doors, finding yourself in other parts of your house. The world feels both familiar and profoundly different. Everything is imbued with a certain vibrancy, as if you were seeing its true energetic essence. Now, it's crucial to understand what this state represents. From a scientific perspective, an out-of-body experience is considered a fascinating type of sensory impression rooted in the brain. It's thought to originate in a part of the brain called the temporoparietal junction, or TPJ. This area is responsible for integrating information from our senses of sight, sound, and touch, to create our unified sense of self and its location in space. When the TPJ is disrupted through sleep transitions, deep trance, or even physical stress, it can fail to integrate this information correctly. The result? The brain generates a stable, realistic sensation of the self being located outside the physical body. It's a convincing trick of perception, a glitch in our sense of embodiment. Yet, for the person experiencing it, the feeling is unshakably real. It is not like a dream, which often has a hazy, illogical quality. The out-of-body state feels hyper-realistic, often more real and lucid than waking life. It poses a fundamental question. Is our consciousness merely a product of the brain? Or is it something that can, under certain conditions, operate independently of it? Regardless of its ultimate origin, the experience is transformative. It can profoundly reduce the fear of death and instill a deep sense of connection to the universe. It is the mind exploring the limits of its own identity. It is the ultimate journey of the self by the self. We have seen the mind project itself into an impossible position, floating above the body. But is this inner travel limited to familiar places like our own bedroom? Or can the mind extend its reach even further, projecting its awareness to a place it has never, ever been? Our next journey will take us there as we explore the controversial practice of remote viewing.
Number 12. Remote viewing. Seeing places you've never been. We have just witnessed the mind perform the incredible feat of viewing the self from the outside. That journey, however, was personal and contained. But what if consciousness is not a flashlight, limited to illuminating its immediate surroundings? What if it is more like a signal that can be sent and received across vast distances? This question brings us to one of the most intriguing and hotly debated states of mind ever studied, the phenomenon of remote viewing. Imagine a person sitting in a quiet, featureless room in California. They have no access to news, no windows, no contact with the outside world. Miles away, another person, a beacon, is sent to a randomly selected target location. It could be a child's playground, a busy marina, or a specific statue in a park. The person in the quiet room, the viewer, is given nothing but a set of coordinates, a random string of numbers representing the target. Their task is to quiet their mind, enter a state of deep focus, and describe what they see at those coordinates. The viewer might begin to report sensory impressions. I feel the cool spray of water. I hear the sound of birds and distant bells. I see a tall, metallic structure, curved at the top. They sketch the shapes they perceive. When their session is over, their descriptions are compared to the actual target location. Incredibly, the descriptions and sketches are often found to match the target with an accuracy that seems to defy all logical explanation. This was the premise of the famous and highly controversial remote viewing experiments conducted from the 1970s through the 1990s, most notably at the Stanford Research Institute, SRI, and later by the U.S. government. Proponents of remote viewing claim that it is a trainable, latent ability within every human, a way of tapping into a universal consciousness or a collective information field to access data that is not available to our ordinary five senses. It is not considered a psychic power in the traditional sense, but rather a structured protocol, a mental martial art. The process requires the viewer to separate true signal from mental noise, the brain's tendency to guess, analyze, and invent things. Viewers are trained to report only raw sensory data, textures, colors, sounds, smells, before allowing their analytical mind to try and piece them together. A viewer might perceive something long, hard, and white, and something green and soft, which their analytical mind might then assemble into an image of a flagpole on a grassy lawn. Now, we must be clear, remote viewing is on the fringe of science, and its results remain a profound subject of debate. Skeptics argue that the reported successes can be explained by a combination of factors. The descriptions are often vague and can be retroactively fitted to almost any target. They point to sensory leakage, where the viewer might unconsciously pick up subtle clues or statistical chance. And yet, the documented cases, even in declassified government files, contain examples of accuracy that are incredibly difficult to dismiss as mere coincidence. Regardless of whether the phenomenon is real, the state of mind achieved by a remote viewer is fascinating in itself. It is a state of profound intuition, of silencing the internal chatter of the ego to listen for a fainter, more subtle signal. It is a journey into the nature of information and perception. It forces us to ask an incredible question. Is our mind merely a processor of information, or is it also a receiver? While remote viewing is about perceiving an unknown location in the present, there is another state where the mind travels not through space, but into time, into the landscape of a recent dream, recalling it with a level of clarity that seems just as impossible. We are about to enter the vivid recall state.
Number 13. The vivid recall state. Remembering a dream in hyper detail. How many dreams did you have last night? You might remember one, or perhaps just a fleeting fragment of one. For most of us, dreams are like writing on sand at low tide. The moment the waves of wakefulness wash over us, the intricate details are smoothed away, leaving only a faint impression that soon vanishes entirely. We accept this as normal. But what if it didn't have to be that way? What if you could wake up and hold a dream in your mind with the same clarity and stability as a memory from yesterday? This is the rare and illuminating state of vivid recall. Imagine waking up and not just remembering you were in a forest, but remembering the precise pattern of the moss on a specific tree. You remember the feeling of the damp earth under your feet, the exact temperature of the air, the way the light filtered through the canopy and created shifting patterns on the ground. You remember the full, coherent conversations you had with dream characters, the sound of their voices, their exact phrasing. You can play back the entire dream narrative from beginning to end, like watching a high-definition movie that you can pause and examine at any point. This is not just good dream recall, it is a state of hypermemory or hypermnesia, specifically for the dream world. It's the opposite of the hazy, forgettable dream experience. In this state, the dream feels less like a fantasy and more like a place you have actually been. The memories it creates are as solid and detailed as any waking memory. So why does this happen? Why are some dreams etched into our minds with such permanence while most others fade? The key seems to lie in the emotional significance of the dream. Our brains are wired to remember things that are emotionally charged. The hippocampus, which is crucial for forming long-term memories, works in close partnership with the amygdala, the brain's emotional center. When a dream is particularly joyful, terrifying, or profoundly meaningful, the amygdala essentially tags it as important, signaling to the hippocampus to record this. The vivid recall state is what happens when that tag is especially strong. It's as if the brain treats the dream not as nightly maintenance, but as a critical life event that must be preserved for future reference. This state can also be induced. People who keep a dream journal, writing down everything they can remember the moment they wake up, are training their brains to prioritize dream memories. They are telling their mind, "This is important. Don't throw it away." Over time, this practice can lead to more frequent and more detailed recall, opening a rich channel of communication with the subconscious mind. The vivid recall state gives us a glimpse into the incredible storage capacity of our own minds. It proves that every detail of our dreams is recorded. We usually just lose access to the file upon waking. But in this state, the file remains open on the desktop of our consciousness. It is a gift from our sleeping self to our waking self, a detailed report from the other side. It allows us to analyze the symbols, understand the narratives, and learn the lessons from our inner world with unparalleled clarity. Our dreams are usually intensely private cinemas, played for an audience of one. But if a dream can be this vivid, this real, is it possible that just sometimes two people might unknowingly receive tickets to the exact same show? We are about to explore one of the greatest mysteries of the mind, the possibility of shared dreams.
Number 14. Shared dreams, where two minds might meet in the same dreamscape. The experiences of the mind we've explored so far, no matter how strange, have been fundamentally solitary. A dream is your own private universe. But now, we come to a phenomenon that, if real, would shatter that paradigm and suggest a level of connection between human beings that we are only beginning to comprehend. This is the fascinating and deeply mysterious concept of a shared dream. Imagine this scenario. You wake up from a bizarre dream where you were walking through a purple desert under a green sky, and you came across a library where all the books were chained to the shelves. You shake your head, dismissing it as just another strange dream. Later that day, you're talking to a close friend or family member, and they say, "I had the strangest dream last night." They then proceed to describe the exact same impossible landscape: the purple desert, the green sky, the library of chained books. Every detail matches. The shock of this moment is profound. It's a feeling that goes beyond coincidence. It feels like you were both, somehow, in the same place. This is the core of the shared dream experience, also known as mutual dreams. These are anecdotal reports from two or more people who believe they have interacted within the same dreamscape on the same night. The people involved are often emotionally close, spouses, siblings, or best friends, but not always. The dreams themselves are often highly unusual and specific, which makes the matching details so compelling. A dream about being at an office is one thing. A dream about being on a pirate ship captained by a talking squirrel is another. It's the specificity
that lends the experience its power. So what could possibly be happening here? From a scientific standpoint, this is uncharted territory. Skeptics offer several logical explanations. The most obvious is coincidence and faulty memory. Two people might have a vaguely similar dream and, in the excitement of sharing it, their memories might unconsciously merge, filling in the gaps to make the stories match more perfectly than they actually did. Another explanation is that people with shared life experiences, who watch the same movies, talk about the same things, and face similar stresses, are more likely to have similar dream content. Their brains are drawing from a shared pool of data. And yet, the reports persist with details that seem too specific to be explained away so easily. Proponents and those who have had the experience often wonder about deeper possibilities. Is it a form of telepathy that occurs when the conscious mind's defenses are down during sleep? Does consciousness itself exist in a kind of field, like a magnetic field, where two minds can resonate at the same frequency and temporarily overlap? Could it be a glimpse into a collective unconscious, a shared human reservoir of symbols and narratives, as the psychologist Carl Jung proposed? The state of mind during a reported shared dream is identical to any other dream. The realization only comes after waking, during the conversation. It is in that moment of sharing that the true impact of the state is felt. It creates a powerful bond, a sense of having shared a secret reality that no one else can understand. Whether a product of coincidence, psychology, or a genuine connection that defies our current understanding, the possibility of shared dreams remains one of the most compelling mysteries of the human experience. It forces us to ask, just how separate are we, really? If two minds can seemingly share the same space in a dream, can a single mind stretch the very fabric of time within it? We are about to see what happens when you live not just a moment, but an entire lifetime in the span of a single night.
Number 15. Time dilation dreams. Living hours in minutes. We measure our lives by the steady, unforgiving tick of the clock. Seconds, minutes, hours, they are the rigid framework of our reality. But in the world of the mind, this framework can be bent, twisted, and completely shattered. There is perhaps no greater example of this than in the phenomenon of time dilation dreams, a state where our perception of time becomes so fluid that minutes can feel like hours and hours can feel like a lifetime. Imagine having a dream that begins with your own childhood. You experience your first day of school. You learn to ride a bike. You feel the awkwardness of your teenage years. You then grow up in the dream. You get a job. You meet someone. You fall in love. You build a family. You watch your dream children grow. You experience decades of joy and struggle. You grow old with your partner, and you feel the weight of a long, full life lived. Then you wake up. You look at your alarm clock, and only 10 minutes have passed. The sheer density of the experience is staggering. The memories feel real. The emotions are authentic. You have, for all intents and purposes, lived an entire life in the time it takes to brew a cup of coffee. This is an extreme example, but more subtle forms of time dilation happen in our dreams all the time. It's why a dream can feel like a feature-length film, complete with a complex plot and character development, yet it only took place during a brief REM cycle of a few minutes. So, how is this possible? The answer lies in how our brain constructs the experience of time. In the waking world, our perception of time is anchored by external cues: the sun's movement, the rhythm of our heartbeat, the predictable flow of events. Our brain is constantly processing a massive stream of sensory data from the outside world, and this processing takes time. It acts as a bottleneck. In a dream, this bottleneck is gone. The brain is creating the entire world internally. It doesn't need to wait for light to travel to your eye or sound to travel to your ear. It can generate experiences, thoughts, and entire scenes at the speed of neural firing. The rate of information processing can increase exponentially. Think of it like this. Watching a movie at normal speed takes 2 hours, but if you could upload the entire movie file directly into your brain, you could experience it in seconds. This is what your brain is doing in a time dilation dream. It's running the simulation at maximum processing speed. This state is not just a curious glitch. It reveals the true subjective nature of time. It proves that time, as we know it, is not a constant, but a perception, a story that the brain tells itself. This is why time can seem to slow down in a life-threatening situation in the waking world. Your brain is ramping up its processing speed, taking in more information per second, effectively stretching the moment. Time dilation dreams are the ultimate expression of the mind's efficiency and creative power. They show us that within the 3 pounds of matter in our skull, there is enough processing power to simulate entire lifetimes of experience. The mind can bend the duration of time within a dream, creating these epic personal narratives. But can it do something even stranger? Can it, as some stories suggest, offer a terrifying or beautiful glimpse of a time that has not yet happened? We must now tread carefully as we enter the controversial territory of dream premonitions.
Number 16. Dream Premonitions, the controversial glimpse of the future. We have seen the mind bend time, stretching a few minutes into a lifetime. Now we approach a state that is far more controversial, a phenomenon that suggests the mind can not just bend time, but see through it. This is the world of the premonitory dream, the alleged glimpse of an unwritten future. For as long as humanity has been dreaming, there have been stories of people who dreamed of a distant loved one in peril, only to receive news of an accident the next day. Stories of inventors who solved a problem in a dream, seeing a future invention in perfect detail. Perhaps the most famous is the account of Abraham Lincoln, who reportedly dreamed of his own assassination just days before it happened, describing a scene in the White House with an eerie and tragic accuracy. A premonitory dream is not a vague feeling. It is often a detailed, specific, and mundane dream that is forgotten upon waking. Its significance only becomes apparent later, when the events of the dream play out, detail for detail, in waking life. It's the unsettling feeling of, "I've seen this before," but the memory is not from a past experience, but from a past dream. It's Déjà Rêvé, or already dreamed, at its most powerful. So what is happening here? We must approach this with a healthy dose of critical thinking. Science offers several compelling explanations that do not require us to rewrite the laws of causality. The first and most powerful is coincidence. We have thousands of dreams in our lifetime, filled with countless random details. The human brain is a master pattern-matching machine. It is statistically inevitable that some of these random dream details will eventually match up with real-life events. We simply forget the thousands of dreams that don't come true and remember the one, by pure chance, that did. The second explanation is that our subconscious mind is a far better analyst than our conscious mind. It is constantly absorbing subtle information, picking up on cues and patterns that we don't consciously notice. A dream that seems to predict a friend's betrayal might not be seeing the future. It might be that your subconscious had already picked up on subtle signs of disloyalty that your conscious mind was ignoring. The dream is an analysis of the present, projected as a future event. A third possibility is the self-fulfilling prophecy. If you dream you're going to fail a test, the anxiety from that dream might cause you to perform poorly, thus making the dream come true. Despite these rational explanations, the stories persist, and the experience, for those who have them, feels profoundly real and unexplainable by mere chance. They describe a quality to these dreams that is different, a clarity, a weight, a feeling of significance that separates them from ordinary dreams. Whether these are true glimpses into the future or just fascinating tricks of probability and psychology, the state of mind they represent is one of deep intuition. They force us to consider the incredible processing power of the subconscious and the possibility that the nature of time and consciousness is far more mysterious than we currently understand. Whether the mind can truly perceive the future is a profound mystery. But there is another sensory mystery that is far more common, a feeling so real it can make you jump in the night, the unmistakable sensation of a touch from something that isn't there. We are about to experience the phantom touch.
Number 17. The phantom touch. The unmistakable feeling of something that isn't there. The sensory experiences of the mind are not limited to sight and sound. Our sense of touch is perhaps our most primal, our most intimate connection to reality. It is the sense that confirms what is real and what is not. But what happens when this fundamental sense is triggered by nothing at all? What happens when you feel a touch that has no source? This is the strange and often unnerving state of mind that produces the phantom touch. Imagine you're lying in bed, hovering in that familiar space between wakefulness and sleep. Suddenly, you feel it. It could be the distinct sensation of a hand gently resting on your shoulder. It could be the light, tickling feeling of a spider crawling up your leg. It might be a sudden poke or the unmistakable impression of someone sitting on the edge of your bed, causing the mattress to dip. You open your eyes, your heart pounding. There is no one there. The room is empty. There is no spider. The sensation was entirely real, but its cause was completely internal. This is a tactile impression, a phantom sensation generated by your own brain. It is the sense of touch version of seeing a face in the dark or hearing a whisper. It is most common during the transitional states of hypnagogia, falling asleep, and hypnopompia, waking up. During these times, the brain's activity is like a jumbled radio signal. The part of your brain responsible for processing touch, the somatosensory cortex, can fire off spontaneously,
It sends a signal that says pressure is being applied to the shoulder, and your conscious mind experiences that signal as a real touch without any actual physical input. The experience is often connected to sleep paralysis. When you are conscious but unable to move, your brain is desperate to explain the heavy, immobile feeling. It might invent the narrative of something pressing down on you, and that mental narrative can generate a corresponding and powerful phantom touch sensation, making the feeling of being held down terrifyingly real. But it doesn't just happen during paralysis. It can happen to anyone. You might feel a tap on your back while home alone, or the feeling of a cold drop of water on your skin. These sensations are so convincing that they can cause genuine confusion and fear. For centuries, these experiences were explained through folklore: the touch of a ghost, the presence of an unseen spirit. It's easy to see why. The feeling is not vague, it is specific and undeniable. When our most trusted sense for verifying reality tells us something is there, we are powerfully inclined to believe it, even when our eyes tell us otherwise. Understanding the neurological basis of the phantom touch doesn't necessarily make it less startling when it happens, but it does demystify it. It shows us that our entire experience of reality is a construction, a set of signals interpreted by the brain. And sometimes, signals can get crossed. It's a reminder that we have a touch body as well as a physical one, a map of our skin in our brain that can be activated from the inside out. The mind can create the feeling of another being touching us. But what happens when the entity it creates is not a stranger, but a perfect copy of ourselves? We are about to explore the deeply psychological encounter with the Doppelgänger mind.
Number 18. The Doppelgänger Mind. The unsettling encounter with yourself. In all our journeys so far, we have been the protagonist, the single I, at the center of the experience. Even when we felt a phantom presence, it was an other. But the mind holds a capacity for a far more intimate and unsettling encounter. It can split our sense of self, forcing us to confront a perfect replica of who we are. This is the state we call the Doppelgänger mind. A doppelganger is a look-alike or double of a living person. In folklore, seeing one's own doppelganger is often considered an omen. In psychology and the dream world, however, it is a profound and multifaceted symbol of the self. This encounter can happen in several ways. The most common is the third-person dream. You are not seeing the world through your own eyes. Instead, you are like a floating camera, watching yourself as a character in a movie. You see your own body, your own face, your own actions, but you are completely detached, an observer to your own life. You might watch yourself have a conversation or perform a task, feeling a strange sense of disconnection. This is your mind creating a narrative and casting you as the lead role, while your conscious awareness sits in the director's chair. But then, the experience can become far stranger. You can be in a first-person dream, experiencing the world normally, when you turn a corner or look across a room and see yourself. This other you is not a reflection. It is a separate, autonomous being. It moves on its own, it has its own thoughts, and it might even speak to you. The feeling this evokes can range from mild curiosity to deep, primal fear. What does it mean to meet yourself? From a psychological perspective,
Especially in the Jungian school of thought, the doppelganger is often an encounter with the shadow self. The shadow is the part of our personality that we have repressed or refused to acknowledge, our fears, our insecurities, our darker impulses, and also our hidden talents. The dream creates a literal manifestation of this other side of you, so that you can finally see it and interact with it. The doppelganger might be hostile, representing a part of yourself you are in conflict with, or it could be a helpful guide, representing a part of your potential that you need to integrate. The encounter is a mirror held up to the soul. It forces the question, who are you really? It breaks down the illusion that we are a single unified personality, revealing us to be a complex system of different drives, desires, and aspects. This state is the ultimate act of self-reflection. The mind, in its infinite creativity, finds a way to make the abstract process of introspection into a concrete, dramatic event. It pulls a character from the depths of your psyche and puts them on stage in front of you. Meeting ourselves in a dream forces us to question who we are. But there are other dreams that force us to question the very nature of our senses. What happens when the fundamental rules of perception are completely rewritten? What if you could taste the color red, or see the beautiful jagged shape of a sudden noise? We are about to enter the blended reality of cross-sensory dreams.
Number 19. Cross-sensory dreams, where you can taste colors and see sounds. Our waking world is neatly organized. We see with our eyes, hear with our ears, and taste with our tongue. The five senses operate in their own distinct channels, each one delivering a specific type of information to the brain. This separation is what gives our reality its structure and predictability. But in the fluid, creative chaos of the dream world, these channels can cross, the wires can get tangled. The result is a state of mind where the senses blend together in a beautiful and bizarre symphony of perception. This is the world of cross-sensory dreams, a temporary form of synesthesia. Synesthesia is a neurological condition where stimulating one sensory pathway automatically triggers an experience in a second, unstimulated pathway. A waking synesthete might, for example, always see the color blue when they hear the note C sharp, or experience the word Monday as having a round, smooth texture. In dreams, however, anyone can be a synesthete. In this state, the mind is freed from the rigid rules of physical reality. Imagine you are in a dream and a beautiful piece of music begins to play. As you listen, you don't just hear the melody, you see it. The high notes might erupt as shimmering gold and silver sparks, while the deep bass notes flow like a thick purple river. You are witnessing the architecture of the sound, or perhaps you are talking to a dream character. Their voice doesn't just have a pitch and a tone, it has a flavor. The kind words might taste sweet like honey, while harsh words might have a bitter, metallic taste on your tongue. Emotions themselves can become sensory. The feeling of joy might not just be a psychological state, it might manifest as a tangible feeling of warmth and a bright yellow light that fills your entire field of vision. Fear might have a specific, unpleasant smell, like ozone or burnt dust. So why does this happen?
During REM sleep, the state where most vivid dreaming occurs, the control centers in the prefrontal cortex are less active. At the same time, the sensory processing areas of the brain, the visual cortex, auditory cortex, and so on, are highly active. It's thought that the normal barriers that keep these areas separate become more permeable. The neural activity from one area can bleed over into another, causing the brain to interpret a sound as both a sound and a color, or an emotion as both a feeling and a taste. A cross-sensory dream is a glimpse into the raw, unfiltered processing of the mind. Before the brain organizes everything into neat little boxes for our waking life, the data is just pure information, and it can be expressed in multiple ways at once. This state reveals the arbitrary nature of our senses. The experience of red is just a specific frequency of light translated by our brain. The experience of a sound is just a vibration translated by our brain. In a dream, the brain can experiment with different translations, creating a richer, more complex, and deeply psychedelic tapestry of reality. In these cross-sensory dreams, the mind bends the rules in a beautiful, chaotic display. But sometimes, the mind's message isn't chaotic at all. It is precise, orderly, and deeply insistent. It is a single mysterious pattern that appears again and again and again. We are now entering the recurring symbol state.
Number 20. Recurring symbol state. The mysterious pattern that haunts your sleep. Most dreams are fleeting, one-time events. They are unique stories told for a single night, then forgotten. But some dreams are different. They refuse to be forgotten. They come back. This is the recurring symbol state, a state defined not by a single night's experience, but by a pattern that repeats over weeks, months, or even a lifetime. The recurrence can take many forms. For some, it's a recurring place. They might find themselves night after night in the same mysterious house. The house is always the same, but each time they visit, they might explore a new room or discover a locked door they had never noticed before. The house becomes a persistent parallel geography in their mind. For others, it's a recurring scenario. The most classic example is the anxiety dream, being unprepared for a test you didn't know you had, being late for an important event, or being chased by an unseen pursuer. The details might change. One night it's a math test, the next it's a history final. But the core feeling of panic and inadequacy is always the same. For still others, it's a recurring object or character. A specific animal like a wise owl or a menacing snake might appear in various dream contexts. A mysterious key, a single dead tree, or a silent cloaked figure might show up time and time again. These symbols feel charged with a special significance, a message that demands to be understood. From a psychological perspective, a recurring dream is one of the clearest signals the subconscious can send to the conscious mind. Repetition is the mind's way of saying, "Pay attention to this. This is important." The dream is repeating because there is an underlying emotional issue, an unresolved conflict, or a behavioral pattern in your waking life that has not been addressed. The dream is a persistent alarm bell. For example, the dream of being unprepared for a test rarely has anything to do with actual school. It often points to a feeling of being judged, of not being good enough, or a fear of failure in one's career or personal life.
The dream of being chased suggests that you are avoiding a problem or a feeling in your waking life, and the dream is telling you that you need to turn around and face it. The recurring symbol is the mind's chosen language for this issue. It has picked a specific image, the house, the test, the key, to be the carrier of the message. The goal, from a therapeutic standpoint, is to engage with the symbol, to ask yourself, what does this house represent to me? What am I feeling when I'm being chased? Often, once the waking mind identifies and begins to work on the underlying issue, the recurring dream will change, evolve, or disappear entirely. Its job is done. This state is a powerful dialogue between our two selves. It is a puzzle presented by the sleeping mind to the waking mind, a mystery that begs to be solved. These recurring symbols are messages from a world we think we leave behind each morning. But what if we don't have to be asleep to dream? What if we could slip into alternate realities with our eyes wide open? As we begin our third act, we explore the dream that doesn't end, starting with the immersive world of daydreaming.
Number 21. Daydream Immersion. Slipping into alternate realities while awake. In our last act, we uncovered the mind's power to send messages to itself through recurring symbols, puzzles from our sleeping self to our waking self. But what if we don't need to be asleep to access a world of imagination? What if we could build entire universes, live out alternate lives, and solve complex problems, all while sitting quietly with our eyes wide open? We now enter a state so common we dismiss it, yet so powerful it shapes our lives in profound ways. This is not mere mind wandering. This is the rich narrative world of daydream immersion. We all do it. You're in a meeting or looking out a window, and the world around you begins to fade. The voice of the speaker becomes a distant hum. The room dissolves. In its place, a new reality springs to life, built from the materials of your own mind. You are not just thinking about a future vacation, you are there. You can feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, hear the sound of the waves, and feel the sense of peace and relaxation. You are having a conversation with your boss, but you're not just planning the words. You are running a full simulation, playing out the entire scene, exploring different branching paths of dialogue to find the best outcome. This is the power of daydream immersion. It is a fully immersive, multi-sensory inner experience. While your body is still, your mind is living a rich and detailed story. Neurologically, this is the work of a fascinating brain network called the Default Mode Network, or DMN. The DMN is a collection of brain regions that becomes most active when we are not focused on an external task. It is the idle state of the brain, but it is anything but quiet. The DMN is our internal simulator, our storytelling engine. It's what allows us to remember the past, envision the future, and, most importantly, imagine the perspectives of other people. When you are deep in a daydream, your DMN is running at full power. It's pulling memories, emotions, and information from all corners of your brain and weaving them into a coherent narrative. This state serves critical functions. It's a sandbox for creativity, where we can play with ideas without real-world consequences. It's a rehearsal space for social situations, allowing us to practice difficult conversations and build empathy. It's also a powerful tool for emotional regulation. By creating a pleasant inner world, we can generate feelings of calm, joy, or confidence to counteract the stresses of our external environment. For most, it is a healthy and vital mental tool. However, for some, This inner world can become so compelling, so much more rewarding than their outer reality, that it becomes a state of maladaptive daydreaming, where individuals spend hours a day lost in complex fantasy worlds to the detriment of their real-life responsibilities. This shows the sheer power and pull of these self-created realities. Daydream immersion is the ultimate expression of our narrative mind. It proves that we are all natural-born storytellers, constantly creating tales in which we are the main character. It is a chosen escape, a controlled descent into an alternate reality. But what happens when you are not escaping reality, but are so deeply absorbed in a real-world task that time, your surroundings, and even your sense of self seem to completely melt away? This is not an escape, but a total immersion. We are about to enter the peak performance state, known as the flow state.
Number 22. Flow state. Total absorption beyond time. We just explored the rich inner worlds we create when we detach from reality. Now we dive into a state that is its polar opposite. This is not about detaching from the world, but about merging with it so completely that everything else ceases to exist. This is the state of peak performance and effortless action. A state athletes call being in the zone, and psychologists call the flow state. Imagine a musician playing a difficult piece. Their fingers dance across the keys, not because they are thinking about each note, but because the music is simply flowing through them. Their self-consciousness is gone. They are not worried about hitting a wrong note or what the audience thinks. There is only the music, the instrument, and the seamless action of playing. Or think of a rock climber on a difficult cliff face. They are not analyzing every move. Their body just knows where to go. Their mind is silent, their focus absolute. Every movement is precise, efficient, and perfectly attuned to the rock. In these moments, something incredible happens to our perception. Time becomes distorted. Hours can feel like minutes. The internal chatter of the mind, the voice of the ego with its doubts and insecurities, goes completely silent. There is no past, no future, only the intense, crystal-clear experience of the present moment. The action feels effortless, even if it is physically demanding. You feel a profound sense of control, yet paradoxically, it feels like the action is happening through you, not by you. This state was famously identified and named by the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. He discovered that flow is most likely to occur when we are engaged in an activity that has a clear goal and provides immediate feedback, and, most importantly, when the challenge of the task is perfectly matched to our skill level. If the challenge is too low, we become bored. If the challenge is too high, we become anxious. Flow exists in that perfect, razor-thin channel between boredom and anxiety. The neuroscience of flow is fascinating. Brain scans show that during a flow state, there is a decrease in activity in the prefrontal cortex. This is the part of the brain responsible for higher-level cognitive functions like self-awareness, self-criticism, and abstract thought. This temporary shutdown of the ego is what allows for the uninhibited, fluid performance. It silences the inner critic, freeing up mental resources to be fully dedicated to the task at hand. Your brain is not wasting energy on doubt. It is dedicating 100% of its power to action.
The flow state is the ultimate form of focus. It is deeply rewarding and is often cited as the key to happiness and a meaningful life. It is in these moments of total absorption that we feel most alive, most capable, and most connected to what we are doing. In flow, your present action feels timeless. But what about when a present action feels like it's from a dream? A dream you had long ago, which you are now reliving, detail for detail, in the real world. We are about to explore the eerie premonition in reverse, known as the Déjà Rêvé effect.
Number 23. The Déjà Rêvé effect. Remembering a dream while it happens in reality. In the flow state, our sense of past and future dissolves into an eternal now. But there is another waking state that plays with time in an even stranger way, blurring the lines between our present reality and our past dream worlds. It's a feeling of familiarity, but it's not the vague sense of having been here before. It is the specific, concrete memory of having dreamed this exact moment. This is the powerful and unsettling phenomenon of déjà rêvé, which translates to already dreamed. It goes like this. You're living a perfectly ordinary moment. You might be walking into a room you've never seen before, having a conversation with a friend, or witnessing a random event on the street. Suddenly, a switch flips in your mind. A memory surfaces, not of a past event in your life, but of a dream. You realize with a jolt that you dreamed this exact scene. You remember the color of the walls, the specific phrase your friend is about to say, the way the light is hitting the window. It is a premonition that you receive not before the event, but during it. The feeling is profoundly different from its more famous cousin, déjà vu. Déjà vu is a general, often disorienting feeling of familiarity without a clear source. It's a glitchy feeling. Déjà rêvé is a specific cognitive event. It is the retrieval of a memory. The source is clear. It was a dream. This makes the experience arguably more stunning. You are not just feeling a vague familiarity, you are actively remembering a dream as it unfolds into reality. Research into this phenomenon is still emerging, but studies have confirmed that it is a distinct experience. Scientists are exploring several possibilities. One theory is that it's a memory error. The brain, as it processes a new experience, might mistakenly tag it with a dream marker, creating a false memory of having dreamed it on the spot. It's a filing error in the vast cabinet of the mind. Another possibility is that we have countless dreams that we instantly forget upon waking. The details are stored somewhere deep in our subconscious. When a real-life event occurs that happens to match one of these forgotten dreams, the real-world experience acts as a retrieval cue, suddenly pulling the dream memory into our conscious awareness. It wasn't a glimpse of the future. It was just a coincidence that triggered a dormant memory. But for the person experiencing it, it feels like a crack in the fabric of causality. It suggests that the boundary between our inner dream world and our outer physical world is incredibly porous. It feels as if a script written by your sleeping mind months or even years ago is now being performed by reality itself. It's a powerful moment of synthesis where the two worlds we inhabit, the one we live in by day and the one we live in by night, suddenly, shockingly, become one.
Déjà Rêvé is a moment of strange remembrance, a time when the mind's past creations seem to predict the present. But what happens when the mind doesn't remember but simply turns off for just a few seconds at a time without you even knowing it was gone? We are about to experience the lost time of a microsleep.
Number 24. Microsleep. The seconds of lost consciousness. From the profound cognitive connection of déjà rê, we now plummet into its opposite, a state defined by a complete and total disconnection from reality. It is a black hole in our experience, a gap in the timeline of our life that we never even knew was missing until it was over. This is the stealthy, involuntary shutdown of the brain, known as a microsleep. Imagine you are driving on a long, straight highway at night. The road is monotonous. Your body is tired. You feel your focus drifting, but you're trying to push through. Then, you suddenly become aware of the rumble strips on the side of the road, and you jerk the car back into the lane. You don't remember falling asleep. You don't remember dreaming. As far as you were concerned, you were awake the whole time. But for a period of 2 to 10 seconds, you were not. Your brain went to sleep without your permission. That is a microsleep. From the outside, it can look like a simple head nod or a blank stare, but on the inside, there is nothing. It is not a dream. It is not a thought. It is a literal jump cut in your stream of consciousness. You are here one moment, and you are here a few seconds later with zero awareness of the time that has passed in between. The experience is often punctuated by a hypnic jerk, that same involuntary muscle spasm we feel when falling asleep at night, as your body snaps your brain back to full alertness. This state is a biological emergency brake. It happens when the brain is so sleep-deprived that certain groups of neurons simply give up and go offline. Even if your eyes remain open and you appear to be awake, critical parts of your brain, particularly those involved in attention and processing external stimuli, have temporarily shut down. You are, for all practical purposes, blind and deaf to the outside world during those few seconds. The most dangerous aspect of microsleeps is that they often occur without any prior feeling of drowsiness. People believe they can power through fatigue, but the brain has its own non-negotiable limits. It is a stark reminder that consciousness is not a constant, unwavering state. It is an active biological process that requires immense energy and maintenance. When those resources are depleted, the system will start to shut down, whether we want it to or not. It is a profound demonstration of our own fragility. To experience a microsleep is to be confronted with the fact that your conscious you can be deleted for a few seconds without your consent. It's a glimpse into the void, a tiny pocket of non-existence in the middle of your day. It's a sudden, jarring shutdown of the mind. But there is another, more subtle state of waking unconsciousness, a kind of walking hypnosis that we can drift into for minutes or even hours at a time, performing complex tasks without any conscious memory of doing them. We are now entering the autopilot world of the liminal trance.
Number 25. Liminal trance, the walking hypnosis. We've just seen the brain's emergency shutdown in a microsleep. Now we explore a far more common and subtle state of disconnection, a trance so deeply woven into our daily lives that we barely notice it's happening. This isn't a sudden shutdown. It is a gradual handover of control. It's the state of being on autopilot, a walking hypnosis known as a liminal trance. Have you ever had this experience? You get in your car to drive your daily commute to work. You pull out of your driveway, and the next thing you consciously remember is pulling into the parking lot at your destination. You have no specific memory of the 20-minute journey in between. You know you must have stopped at red lights, navigated turns, and avoided other cars, but the experience is a complete blank. Your body was driving the car, but your mind was somewhere else entirely. This is highway hypnosis, the most classic example of a liminal trance. It's a state of divided consciousness. One part of your mind, the older, more automatic part, housed in regions like the basal ganglia, is running the well-rehearsed script of driving the commute. It handles the complex motor skills without needing any conscious oversight. Meanwhile, your conscious mind, seated in the prefrontal cortex, is completely free to drift. It might be daydreaming, planning your day, worrying about problem, or replaying a conversation. You are, in essence, in two places at once. Your physical body is in one reality, while your conscious awareness is in another. This state is a testament to the brain's incredible efficiency. Once a task becomes a deep-seated habit, the brain outsources it to these automatic systems to conserve precious mental energy. This frees up your conscious mind to focus on novel problems or creative thought. It happens all the time in our daily routines, when you're taking a shower, washing the dishes, folding laundry, or even on your morning run. Any activity that is highly practiced and predictable can induce this state. It is a liminal or threshold state because you are hovering between focused present moment awareness and the unconsciousness of sleep. It is a waking dream, a light form of dissociation that allows us to function while our mind explores its own inner landscapes. While it's usually harmless and efficient, it also highlights how much of our lives we can live without actually being present for them. We can go through the motions, performing complex actions while our conscious self is completely checked out. It's a state of profound absence. It's what happens when your mind is somewhere else while your body is on autopilot. But what happens when you try to bring your mind and body back into sync after a night of sleep and your mind simply refuses to catch up with the physical world? We are about to experience the groggy, disorienting state of reality lag.
Number 26. Reality lag. When your mind refuses to fully wake up. We've explored the liminal trance, where the conscious mind detaches and goes on autopilot. Now we examine the difficult and clumsy process of trying to reclaim manual control after a night of sleep, only to find that the system is lagging, buffering, and running on the wrong software. This is the profound state of cognitive grogginess and disconnection from the world known as reality lag. This is far more than just feeling a little tired in the morning. Reality lag, or what scientists call sleep inertia, is a physiological state where your brain has not yet completed the transition from sleep to wakefulness. Your eyes are open, you are out of bed, but your mind is still operating with dreamlike logic in a world that demands waking logic. The experience is one of profound disorientation. The world can feel muffled and distant, as if you are viewing it through a thick fog. Your thoughts are slow and syrupy. You might find yourself trying to interact with something from a dream that isn't there, or fumbling with a simple task like making coffee,
your movements clumsy and uncoordinated. You know you are awake, but your mind feels like it's running at a fraction of its normal speed. It is a state of severe cognitive impairment. Studies have shown that a person experiencing intense sleep inertia can perform worse on cognitive tests than someone who is legally intoxicated. Your reaction time is slow, your decision-making is poor, and your short-term memory is almost non-existent. This is because the different parts of your brain wake up at different speeds. The more primitive parts, like the brainstem which controls your basic wake-sleep cycle, can come online quickly. But the prefrontal cortex, the sophisticated, rational, executive part of your brain, can take much longer to boot up, sometimes 30 minutes or more. During that time, you are operating without your full mental toolkit. You are navigating reality with the emotional, impulsive parts of your brain in charge, while the logical, planning part is still loading. This is why you might feel irrationally irritable or emotionally volatile right after waking up. Your emotional brain is wide awake, but the part that regulates those emotions is still half asleep. This state is a powerful demonstration that wakefulness is not a simple on-off switch. It is a complex process, a gradual rebooting of our most critical cognitive functions. In reality lag, you feel a deep dissonance between your physical presence in the world and your mental presence. The world feels unreal, and your connection to it is weak and unstable. But what happens when the world feels real enough, but the most familiar thing in it, your own reflection, suddenly becomes unreal? We are about to encounter the startling moment of self-disconnection, known as the mirror glitch.
Number 27. The mirror glitch. Recognizing yourself as a stranger. In the state of reality lag, the world around us can feel unreal. But now we turn our focus inward to an even more unsettling experience. A fleeting moment where the world feels real, but the person staring back at you from the mirror becomes a total stranger. This is not a prolonged condition. It is a sudden, startling hiccup in the mind we call the mirror glitch. It happens in an instant. You're brushing your teeth, washing your hands, or just glancing at your reflection as you walk past a mirror. And for a split second, the chain of recognition breaks. You see a face, eyes, a nose, a mouth, but the automatic, instantaneous connection between that image and your internal sense of I is gone. It's not that you see a different person's face. It's that you are looking at your own face with the same detached neutrality you would use to look at an unfamiliar object. There's a face. And then, a moment later, the connection snaps back into place with a cognitive jolt. Oh, right, that's me. The experience can leave you with a lingering feeling of unease. It is a moment of profound dissociation, a temporary crack in the foundation of your identity. It forces you to confront a strange question. If I can be a stranger to myself, then who am I? This phenomenon is often a product of fatigue or low attention states. When our brain is tired or distracted, the complex neural circuits responsible for self-recognition can momentarily falter. Our brain's facial recognition system is one of the most powerful pattern-matching tools we have, but it is optimized to recognize others. Recognizing our own face requires an extra step, linking that external pattern to our internal subjective sense of self.
The mirror glitch is a brief failure of that linking process. Psychologists have even developed ways to induce a similar state with something called the stranger in the mirror illusion. If you stare at your own reflection in a dimly lit room for several minutes, your features can begin to distort, morph, or feel like they belong to someone else. This is a result of neural fatigue. Your specialized face-detecting neurons get tired of firing at the same static image and start to misinterpret the data, creating a powerful illusion of otherness. The mirror glitch is a spontaneous, real-world version of this. It's a reminder that our sense of self is not a static, solid thing. It is an active, ongoing process that the brain has to constantly maintain. It's a story the brain tells itself, and sometimes, for a brief moment, it forgets the main character. It's a glitch in personal recognition. But what if the glitch isn't in who you are, but when you are, forcing your mind to hit a replay button on reality itself? We are now going to get stuck in the loop of an involuntary time glitch.
Number 28. Involuntary time loops. The mind's replay function. We just experienced a glitch in self-recognition. Now we explore a glitch that is even more fundamental, a state that attacks our perception of the linear flow of time itself. This is not the looping dream of a false awakening. This happens while you are wide awake, giving you the overwhelming sensation that you are stuck in a broken record of reality. This is the disorienting state of an involuntary time loop. Imagine you reach out and pick up a glass of water. You take a sip. Then you have the powerful, undeniable sensation that you have just done that exact same thing in the exact same way a few moments before. It's not just a memory, it is a full-body re-experiencing of the immediate past. A moment later, it happens again and again. The present moment feels like it is constantly overwriting itself, creating a loop that can last for several seconds or even minutes. A feeling of confusion and panic can set in. Am I going crazy? Is time itself breaking down? This phenomenon is distinct from déjà vu. Déjà vu is a vague feeling of familiarity with a new situation. A time loop is the feeling of repetition of an immediate situation. It's the brain's save function going haywire, constantly saving the same moment as both new and just happened simultaneously. Neurologically, this state is thought to be linked to activity in the temporal lobes of the brain, the regions responsible for memory and our perception of time. Certain types of seizures, known as temporal lobe seizures, can produce exactly these kinds of experiential loops. But the state can also be triggered by extreme fatigue, stress, or anxiety, where the brain's delicate timing and memory tagging mechanisms start to malfunction. The brain has a system for labeling experiences as new to distinguish them from memories. In a time loop state, this labeling system breaks down. A brand new moment enters your consciousness, but it is immediately and incorrectly tagged as an old memory, creating the paradoxical feeling of living through a memory. The world feels like a movie skipping back on itself, and you are the unwilling actor forced to repeat your lines. This experience is deeply unsettling because it strikes at the core of our sanity, the belief that time moves forward in a straight, predictable line. When that belief is shattered, even for a moment, reality can feel unstable and illusory. It is a powerful reminder that our smooth, continuous experience of time is a complex construction of the brain, a biological achievement that can, under certain conditions, glitch and fall apart.
These loops are confusing glitches in perception. But what about the glitches that aren't perceptual, but purely emotional? The feelings that linger like ghosts long after the dream that spawned them has vanished without a trace. We are about to feel the mysterious weight of the emotional echo state.
Number 29. Emotional echo state. Feeling emotions from forgotten dreams. We have explored glitches in time and self-perception. Now we arrive at one of the most subtle and common mysteries of the waking mind, an emotional glitch. It is the experience of waking up possessed by a powerful feeling, joy, sorrow, fear, or love, with absolutely no idea where it came from. The dream is gone, but its emotional ghost remains. This is the emotional echo state. Imagine waking up with a profound and heavy sense of sadness. Your chest feels tight, your mood is somber, and you might even have the faint residue of tears in your eyes. You search your mind for a reason to feel this way. Your waking life is fine. No recent bad news, no looming worries. The cause is a complete blank. The feeling is an orphan, detached from any event or memory. Conversely, you could wake up feeling a sense of pure, unadulterated joy. You feel optimistic, energized, and filled with a sense of wonder, but you have no idea why. There is no exciting event planned for the day. The feeling simply is. This state is profoundly different from dream bleed, where you remember fragments of the dream that caused the emotion. In the emotional echo state, the dream's narrative is completely gone. Only the pure emotion has survived the journey from the sleeping world to the waking one. This phenomenon beautifully illustrates the different ways our brain processes and stores information. During a dream, the emotional centers of the brain, particularly the amygdala, can be incredibly active. They generate powerful feelings in response to the dream's story. These emotional responses are stored as a type of emotional memory. Meanwhile, the hippocampus is responsible for storing the episodic or narrative memory, the story of the dream itself. Often, upon waking, the delicate connection to the hippocampal memory is severed. The story dissolves, but the amygdala's emotional activation can linger, like the warmth from a fire that has gone out. What you are left with is the emotional echo, the resonant frequency of a forgotten story. This state can powerfully influence your entire day. You might walk around under a cloud of unexplained sadness, or with a glow of unearned joy. Your conscious, logical mind will desperately try to find a reason for the feeling, not realizing that its true source comes from a world you can no longer access. It is one of the clearest demonstrations of how deeply our nights shape our days. Our emotional landscape is not just painted by our waking experiences, it is profoundly colored by the rich, secret life we live each night, even and especially when we can't remember a single moment of it. An emotional echo is a feeling that lingers from a forgotten dream. But what happens when you don't sleep at all? What happens when reality itself begins to feel like a dream, fracturing and breaking apart at the seams from sheer exhaustion? As we reach the climax of our third act, we must face the waking nightmare of sleep-deprived impressions.
Number 30. Sleep-deprived hallucinations. Reality breaking at the edges. We have felt the echoes of forgotten dreams. Now we will witness what happens when the mind is denied the release of dreaming altogether. We are pushing the brain to its absolute limit, a place where the barrier between the inner world of the mind and the outer world of reality completely disintegrates. This is not an echo of a dream, this is the dream erupting into waking life.
This is the fracturing state brought on by severe sleep deprivation. It doesn't begin dramatically. After about 24 to 36 hours without sleep, the first signs appear. It starts with subtle distortions. Colors may seem overly bright and saturated. Sounds can become sharp and jarring. You begin to experience perceptual glitches. You might see fleeting shadows in your peripheral vision, quick movements at the edge of your sight that vanish when you try to look directly at them. The solid world begins to feel less stable. Patterns on the floor or a textured wall might appear to gently drift, swirl, or breathe. As you push past 48 hours, the impressions become more structured. This is where you enter a state very similar to hypnagogia, but with your eyes wide open. You might see shimmering geometric patterns overlaid on your vision. You might begin to hear muffled voices, snippets of conversation, or faint music that isn't there. Your brain's pattern recognition system goes into overdrive. You start seeing faces in inanimate objects, in wood grain, in clouds, in crumpled fabric. The world becomes a giant inkblot test. If pushed even further, into 72 hours and beyond, you can experience complex multisensory impressions. You might see people who aren't there or have full conversations with them. The boundary between you and the world collapses. This is the brain in a state of crisis. Sleep is not optional, it is a fundamental biological necessity. It is the time when the brain cleans out metabolic waste products, repairs cellular damage, and consolidates memories. Without sleep, these waste products build up, creating a toxic environment for your neurons. Communication between different brain regions starts to break down. The brain becomes so starved for the REM sleep it needs for emotional regulation and processing that it begins to force dreamlike states into your waking consciousness. You are, quite literally, dreaming while you are awake. The filters that normally separate your imagination from your perception fail completely. Your thoughts, fears, and random associations are no longer confined to your mind. They are projected out onto the world around you. This state is the ultimate demonstration that our stable, coherent reality is not a given. It is a biological achievement, a delicate balance that requires constant maintenance. Sleep is the price of admission for a sane and stable reality. We have now witnessed reality itself fracture at the very edges due to exhaustion. But to go even deeper on our journey, we must turn away from the outside world and travel inward, to explore states where it's not reality that breaks, but the very foundation of who we are, the sense of I. As we enter our fourth act, we prepare for ego dissolution.
Number 31. Ego dissolution. Losing the sense of I. In our last act, we witnessed reality itself begin to break down under extreme stress. But that was a journey outward, watching the world fracture. Now, we turn our gaze inward for the most profound journey of all. We will explore a state where it is not the world that fractures, but the very entity who is watching it. We will explore what happens when the storyteller of your life, the voice you call I, simply dissolves. This is the state of ego dissolution. The ego is the construct of your personal identity. It is the story you tell yourself about who you are, built from your name, your memories, your desires, and your fears. It's the constant inner narrator that says, I want this. I don't like that. That reminds me of the time when.
It creates the fundamental separation between me and not me, between yourself and the universe. It's the border patrol of your identity. In the state of ego dissolution, that border vanishes. It often begins with a feeling of expansion. The tight, localized sense of being in your head, looking out at the world through your eyes, begins to soften. Your awareness starts to spread beyond the confines of your skin. You might be looking at a tree, and the distinction between you, the observer, and the tree that is observed begins to melt away. You feel the tree's deep-rooted stillness as if it were your own. You feel the breeze rustling its leaves as if it were rustling through your own consciousness. You are no longer a person looking at a tree. You are the awareness of the tree looking at itself. This is not just a poetic idea. It is a profound shift in perception. The inner monologue stops. The story of you pauses. Without that story running, the feeling of being a separate, isolated self evaporates. What is left is a sense of profound unity, a feeling of being completely interconnected with everything around you, the room, the people in it, the natural world, the entire cosmos. It can be an experience of overwhelming love and belonging, a homecoming to a universe that you were never actually separate from. This state can be reached through various means. It is the goal of many ancient contemplative practices, achieved through thousands of hours of deep meditation, where the practitioner patiently observes the I until it is seen to be an illusion. It is also famously associated with profound mystical experiences and the careful use of powerful psychedelic substances in therapeutic or spiritual contexts, which seem to temporarily deactivate the brain's default mode network, the very network we identified as the seat of the ego and daydreaming. When the DMN goes quiet, the ego goes quiet with it. Ego dissolution can be blissful, but it can also be terrifying if resisted. To the ego, which is defined by control and separation, the loss of its boundaries feels like death. But by surrendering to the experience, one finds not an end, but an expansion. It's a glimpse of consciousness in its pure, unbound form. It's the experience of losing yourself only to find yourself. The ego is gone. The sense of I has dissolved into the universe. But if the I is gone, then who is it that's having this experience? Is it possible to step back even further and simply watch your life happen from the outside? We are now becoming the observer.
Number 32. The observer state. Watching yourself from outside. We have just experienced the dissolution of the ego, the melting of our personal identity into the vast ocean of the universe. But what if the I doesn't dissolve completely, but instead splits? What if one part of you continues to live your life, while another part steps back and simply watches? This is not a dream. This is a waking state of profound detachment and clarity. This is the observer state. Imagine you are in a difficult, emotionally charged conversation. Normally, you would be completely consumed by it, feeling anger, defending your position, lost in the drama of the moment. But in the observer state, something shifts. While your body continues to talk and your emotions continue to surface, a part of your awareness has retreated to a place of perfect calm. It is watching the scene unfold as if it were a movie. It watches the anger rise in your body,
but it does not identify with the anger. It hears the words coming out of your mouth, but it understands them as just one part of the interaction, not the absolute truth. You are both the actor and the audience at the same time. This is the essence of the observing self, or witness consciousness. It is a silent, impartial, and non-judgmental awareness that watches the content of your experience without getting entangled in it. It watches your thoughts as they drift by like clouds in the sky without believing it is the clouds. It feels your emotions as they surge like waves in the ocean without believing it is the wave. It observes your physical sensations, pain, pleasure, tension, without becoming them. This state is the fundamental goal of many mindfulness practices. Through the practice of meditation, you train yourself to stop identifying with the constant stream of thoughts and feelings, and to instead rest in the quiet awareness behind them. You learn to create a space between the stimulus and your reaction. The observer is that space. The experience can be incredibly liberating. It frees you from the tyranny of your own thoughts and moods. You realize you are not your anger. You are the one who is aware of the anger. You are not your anxiety. You are the one who is aware of the anxiety. This realization creates a profound sense of inner peace and resilience. This is different from the Doppelgänger dream, where you see a separate physical copy of yourself. This is an internal split in consciousness. It's also different from the out-of-body experience, as you still feel grounded in your physical body. Your perspective hasn't floated to the ceiling. It is simply a shift in identification from the character to the awareness watching the character. This state reveals a fundamental layering of our minds. There is the thinking mind, which is noisy, reactive, and caught up in the story of life. And then there is the observing mind, which is silent, still, and free. Cultivating access to the observer is like building a lighthouse in the middle of a stormy sea. The storms will still come, but you now have a place of unshakable stability from which to watch them pass. The observer watches our thoughts, emotions, and sensations. But what happens when all of that content disappears? What is left for the observer to watch when the screen goes completely blank? We are about to enter the profound stillness of the void experience.
Number 33. The void experience. Consciousness without content. We have found the silent observer, the calm center of the storm of our thoughts and emotions. But that observer was still defined by what it was watching. Now we take one final step inward, into a state so simple and so profound that it challenges the very definition of experience. We step into a state where the storm ceases entirely, where the screen goes black, where there is nothing left to observe. This is the journey into the void. This is perhaps the most difficult state to describe in words because it is defined by an absence. It is not sleep, it is not fainting, it is a state of pure, lucid, wakeful consciousness, but a consciousness that has no content. There are no thoughts, no images, no sounds, no emotions, no bodily sensations. Even the sense of self, the final anchor of identity, is gone.
There is only awareness itself, existing in a vast, infinite, and silent space. Imagine turning off the movie projector, but leaving the lamp on. The light is still there, bright and clear, but there is no image being projected onto the screen. The void is that light of awareness, stripped of all experience. It can be reached through very advanced and dedicated meditation practices, where the practitioner systematically lets go of every object of attention, the breath, the body, thoughts, sounds, until there is nothing left to hold on to. The final step is to let go of the sense of I who is doing the letting go. What remains is the void. For some, the initial approach of this state can trigger fear. Our minds are addicted to stimulation, to having something to do, something to think about. The prospect of utter nothingness can feel like annihilation. But for those who surrender to it, the experience is described not as a frightening emptiness, but as a peaceful emptiness. It is a state of absolute stillness, freedom, and profound rest. It is the uncreated, the unborn, the ultimate ground of being from which all phenomena, all thoughts, all feelings, all worlds arise. It is returning to the source code of consciousness before any program is run. In this state, there is no separation because there are no things to be separate. There is no desire because there is nothing to desire. There is no fear because there is nothing to be afraid of. It is a state of pure potential, the silent, fertile darkness of the soil before the seed sprouts. The void experience is the ultimate reset for the mind. It shows us that beneath all the complexity, all the noise, and all the drama of our lives, there is a core of absolute silence and peace. It is the realization that we are not the content of our lives, but the conscious space in which that content appears. In the void, all things cease to exist. But if there are no thoughts and no events, then what happens to the very concept of time? In this silent, empty space, does time even exist at all? We are about to experience the boundless now of the timeless mind.
Number 34. Timeless mind. Awareness without past or future. We emerge from the profound stillness of the void, a state where all content of the mind vanished. Now we explore a state where the content may return, but one fundamental structure of the mind remains absent: the structure of time. This is not the time dilation of a dream. This is the time dissolution of a profound state of presence. This is the experience of the timeless mind. Our entire sense of self, our ego, is built on the scaffolding of time. It is a story with a beginning, the past, a middle, the present, and an end, the future. I am the person who experienced that in the past, and I am the person who wants to achieve this in the future. Our mind constantly shuttles back and forth along this mental timeline, creating regret, nostalgia, anxiety, and hope. It is almost never simply here. In the state of the timeless mind, this entire scaffolding collapses. The psychological concepts of past and future cease to exist. It's not that you forget your past, it's that the emotional weight and narrative identity attached to it are gone. It's not that you can't plan for the future, it's that the anxious striving and projection into what will be disappears. All that remains
is the present moment, but it's a present moment that is no longer a tiny sliver between two vast chasms of past and future. The now expands, becoming infinite and all-encompassing. It is an eternal present. This state is a hallmark of deep meditative absorption and mystical experience. In this state, you are radically present. Your awareness is fully engaged with the sensory input of the moment, the feeling of the air on your skin, the sound of a bird singing, without the mind immediately labeling it, comparing it to the past, or using it to plan for the future. The experience is direct, unfiltered, and intensely vivid. There is a profound sense of peace, because all psychological suffering is rooted in time. Regret and guilt live in the past. Anxiety and fear live in the future. Without the mental concepts of past and future, these emotional states have no ground to stand on. There is only the simple, unadorned reality of what is happening right now. This is a state of being rather than becoming. Our normal mode of consciousness is one of constantly trying to become something else, happier, more successful, more enlightened. We are always on a journey to somewhere. In the timeless mind, you arrive. There is nowhere else to go, nothing else to be. This is it. This state reveals that time, like the ego, is a mental construct, not an absolute reality. It is a useful tool for navigating the physical world, but it is not the fundamental nature of consciousness. By stepping out of the stream of psychological time, we can access a dimension of ourselves that is changeless, whole, and eternally present. Our personal history has dissolved into this timeless now. But if our personal story is gone, what other older stories lie dormant in the mind? What happens when we encounter the ancient, universal characters that belong not just to us, but to everyone? We are about to have our archetype encounters.
Number 35. Archetype Encounters, Meeting the Symbols of the Collective Mind. Having dissolved our personal sense of time, we find ourselves in a space that feels ancient and boundless. In this deep inner realm, we may discover that we are not alone. There are other inhabitants here, figures who feel both intensely familiar and profoundly alien. They are not memories of people we know, but living symbols, the ancient characters of the human story. This is the state of an archetype encounter. The concept was brought to life by the legendary psychoanalyst Carl Jung. He proposed that beneath our individual, personal unconscious, there lies a deeper layer that is shared by all human beings, the collective unconscious. This is a kind of psychological inheritance, a reservoir of all the experiences and memories of our species. The collective unconscious expresses itself through archetypes, universal, primal symbols and images that emerge in our myths, religions, fairy tales, and most powerfully, in our dreams and deep meditative states. An archetype encounter is not like meeting a normal dream character. These figures carry an incredible weight, a sense of immense power and age. You might encounter the wise old man or woman, a figure who offers profound, cryptic guidance. You might meet the hero, who inspires you to face your fears, or the trickster, a chaotic figure who challenges your assumptions and plays with the rules of reality. One of the most common and powerful encounters
is with the shadow, the archetype of everything we have repressed and denied about ourselves. Meeting your shadow is often a terrifying experience as you come face to face with your own darkness, but it is also a crucial step toward wholeness and self-acceptance. You might encounter the anima, the inner feminine in a man, or the animus, the inner masculine in a woman, figures that represent the bridge to our own soul and our capacity for deep, meaningful connection. These are not just intellectual concepts. In this state, they become living, breathing entities. They can speak to you, test you, and guide you. Interacting with them feels less like a creation of your own mind and more like an encounter with a fundamental force of nature. It's a dialogue with the very DNA of the human psyche. This state suggests that our minds are connected to something far larger than our own personal history. It implies that within us, we carry the entire spectrum of human potential: the hero, the sage, the monster, the lover. These archetypes are the building blocks of our stories, the roles we play, and the forces that shape our civilizations. Encountering them directly is a profound and humbling experience. It is a reminder that your personal struggles and triumphs are part of a much larger, universal human drama. We have encountered the powerful, ancient figures that speak to us from the collective mind. But what happens when all the voices, both external and internal, finally cease? What is the experience of absolute, total mental silence? We are about to witness the inner dialogue collapse.
Number 36. The inner dialogue collapse, when thoughts go silent. We have had profound conversations with the ancient archetypes of the mind. Now we turn our attention to the one conversation that never seems to end, the one we have with ourselves. It is the constant narrator, the inner critic, the planner, the worrier. It's the voice in your head that is reading these very words. It is so constant, so pervasive, that we don't even question it. We assume that to be conscious is to be thinking. But what if that's not true? What if that endless stream of thought could just stop? This is the experience of the inner dialogue collapse. It is not the same as the void. In the void, all sensory input and all awareness of the world disappears. Here, the world is still completely present. Your eyes are open. You can hear. You can feel. You are fully awake and alert. The only thing that has vanished is the voice in your head. The silence it leaves behind is deafening. In the first moments, it can be bizarre. You are still you, but the running commentary that has defined your entire life is gone. You wait for the next thought to arise, but it doesn't come. There is no judgment of what you are seeing, no analysis, no comparison. There is only direct, pure perception. The experience is one of profound peace. You realize that almost all of your psychological stress, your anxieties, your worries, your self-criticism is generated by that inner voice. Without it, there is just a calm, effortless engagement with the present moment. The world, no longer filtered through a constant stream of thoughts, becomes incredibly vivid and alive. This is a state often described by long-term meditators and contemplative practitioners. They describe it not as losing a part of themselves, but as shedding an unnecessary burden. It's like taking off a heavy coat you didn't even know you were wearing.
It is the difference between looking at a landscape and looking at a landscape while someone is constantly whispering in your ear what you should think about it. Without the whispers, you can finally just see. This state reveals that we are not our thoughts. Our thoughts are an activity of the mind, a tool that can be used or put down. In our normal state, that tool is running constantly on autopilot, consuming vast amounts of mental energy. In the state of inner silence, that energy is freed up, leading to a feeling of incredible clarity and vitality. It is a radical cognitive freedom. It is the peace that passes all understanding, because it is a peace that exists in the absence of understanding, in the absence of thought. It is the mind at rest. We have turned off the inner narrator and are now experiencing the world directly. But what does the world feel like when it's no longer being filtered and dulled by our thoughts? What happens when reality is perceived with such intensity that it feels more real than real? We are about to enter the hyper-reality state.
Number 37. Hyper-reality state. Everything feels more real than real. The inner dialogue has collapsed, leaving us in a state of profound silence and peace. Without the constant filter of our thoughts, we begin to perceive the world with a new, startling clarity. But there is a state where this clarity intensifies to a level that is almost overwhelming, a state where the world takes on a quality of such breathtaking vividness that it makes our normal reality seem like a pale, washed-out dream. This is the hyper-reality state. Imagine looking at a simple flower. In your normal state, you would see it, label it flower, and move on. But in the hyper-reality state, your perception is completely different. You see the flower with an impossible level of detail. You can perceive the delicate, velvety texture of each petal, the intricate web of veins running through it, the subtle gradations of color that you would never normally notice. The flower seems to pulse with a kind of life force. It feels more alive, more itself than anything you have ever seen. This heightened perception extends to all the senses. Sounds become incredibly rich and layered. You can hear the complex harmonics in a single bird's song. Colors are deeply saturated and luminous, as if the world is glowing from within. Even the most mundane objects, a crack in the sidewalk, a wooden table, a glass of water, can appear imbued with a profound beauty and significance. This is not a distortion or an impression. It is not that you are seeing things that aren't there. It is that you are seeing what is there with the brain's normal sensory filters turned completely off. Our brain performs a constant act of triage on the torrent of sensory information coming in every second. It dulls, simplifies, and filters reality just so we can function without being overwhelmed. It shows us a simplified user interface, not the raw source code of reality. The hyper-reality state is what happens when you get a glimpse of that source code. It can be triggered by moments of intense awe and wonder, such as witnessing a spectacular sunset or the birth of a child. It can also be a feature of deep meditative states, peak experiences, or the afterglow effect of a profound mystical journey. It is a state of perceptual innocence, where you are seeing the world as if for the very first time, before you learned to label and categorize everything. In this state, there is a powerful feeling that this is the true reality, and our normal, dull perception is the illusion. It can be a deeply moving and even life-changing experience, as it reveals the sheer, breathtaking beauty and complexity of every single moment that we normally take for granted. It is falling in love with existence itself. This state has shown us a deeper, more vibrant layer of reality. But are there more layers? What happens when we look at the very awareness that is perceiving this hyper-real world and realize it, too, is just another layer in an infinite puzzle? We must now contemplate the dreamer within the dreamer.
Number 38. The dreamer within the dreamer. Infinite layers of awareness. In the hyper-reality state, we experienced the world with breathtaking, unfiltered clarity. We peeled back a layer of perception to see what lies beneath. Now we turn that process inward, applying it to the perceiver itself. This leads us to a state of mind that is less of a feeling and more of a profound, vertigo-inducing insight. The realization that consciousness itself may be infinitely layered. This is the riddle of the dreamer within the dreamer. We've touched on nested dreams, the idea of a dream within a dream, but this is a more fundamental concept. It begins with a simple act of observation. You have a thought. Then you have the awareness that you are having a thought. You have become the observer, creating a second layer of consciousness. But then you can take another step back. You can become aware of the observer. You can ask, who is it that is aware of this silent, watching presence? In that moment, you have created a third layer, the observer of the observer. This process, in theory, has no end. It is an infinite regression. This is not just a philosophical parlor game. It can be a direct experience in deep states of meditation or introspection. You begin to feel your own consciousness not as a single point, but as a series of nested spheres. You realize that the you who is lucid in a dream is still a character being dreamed by a higher level of awareness. And that higher level, the one you identify with as your true self, might also be just another character in a vaster dream being dreamed by an even higher consciousness. The experience can be dizzying. It dissolves the idea of a single ultimate self. There is no final boss, no ultimate dreamer at the top of the pyramid. There are only layers of dreaming and awareness stretching into infinity. Each time you think you've woken up to the real you realize you've only woken up into a slightly larger bedroom in the infinite house of consciousness. This state confronts us with the profound mystery of our own nature. If there is no final core self, then what are we? Perhaps we are not a noun, but a verb. We are not a thing, but a process, an endless process of awareness becoming aware of itself. This insight is reflected in many spiritual traditions, which speak of God dreaming the universe into existence, or of reality being layers of Leela, or divine play. The state of the dreamer within the dreamer is the direct, personal experience of this cosmic game. It is a state of profound humility and wonder, a realization that the mystery of consciousness is not a problem to be solved, but a boundless reality to be explored layer by fascinating layer. We have explored the infinite layers of awareness. But can our inner experiences be layered in other ways? What if a single emotion could contain within it an entire complex sensory world? We are about to explore the rich inner landscapes of emotional synesthesia.
Number 39. Emotional synesthesia, when feelings become landscapes. We have seen how the mind can create infinite layers of awareness. Now, we will see how it can layer experience itself. taking the raw, abstract data of an emotion and transforming it into a complete, multi-sensory world. This is a state far more profound than the simple crossed wires of a cross-sensory dream. This is emotional synesthesia, where a feeling becomes a place. Imagine the feeling of deep grief. In our normal state, it is an internal sensation, a heaviness in the chest, a sense of loss. But in a state of emotional synesthesia, as you sink into that feeling, it expands and becomes an entire landscape. You find yourself standing in a vast, cold, twilight desert. The ground is made of gray ash. The sky is a starless, deep indigo, and a cold wind blows, carrying a scent of dust and rain. You are not feeling grief while seeing a desert. The desert is the grief. Every detail of the landscape is a perfect expression of the emotion. Conversely, imagine the feeling of profound joy. In this state, that feeling might become a sun-drenched meadow high in the mountains. The air is warm and smells of pine and wildflowers. You can hear the buzzing of bees and feel a gentle, energizing breeze. The landscape is not a metaphor for the joy. It is the physical manifestation of it. You are literally walking through your own happiness. This state occurs in our most profound dreams and deepest visionary states. It is the mind's ultimate act of symbolic expression. Our brain is a master of metaphor. It takes abstract concepts and maps them onto concrete physical experiences. We do this with language all the time. We feel down. We have a heavy heart. Our spirits soar. Emotional synesthesia is what happens when the brain takes these metaphors and renders them into a fully immersive, high-definition reality. It is a state where the boundary between the psychological and the physical dissolves. An emotion is no longer just a feeling. It is a world with its own geography, its own climate, its own physics. Exploring this landscape is a way of exploring the emotion in its totality. By walking through the desert of your grief, you can understand its nuances, its loneliness, its stark beauty, its potential for clarity. This state is a testament to the incredible creative power of the mind. It is a world builder, a poet, an artist that uses our own feelings as its paint. It shows us that within every emotion we feel, there is an entire universe waiting to be explored. We have explored landscapes of pure emotion. But after all these journeys, through layers of reality, time, and self, where do we end up? What happens when all the layers dissolve into a single, simple, perfect point of being? We have reached the final state of our inner journey, the experience of absolute presence.
Number 40. Absolute presence, being only in the now. We have journeyed through the infinite layers of the mind, from the dissolution of the ego to the landscapes of pure emotion. We have witnessed consciousness in its most complex and abstract forms. And now, at the culmination of this deep inner voyage, all of that complexity resolves into a state of the most profound simplicity. This is the state of absolute presence. This state is the synthesis, the grand finale of many of the states we have explored. It has the silence of the collapsed inner dialogue. It has the vibrant clarity of the hyper-real state. It has the boundless, eternal quality of the timeless mind. And it has the unity of ego dissolution. But it combines them all into a single,
grounded, and fully embodied experience of being completely and totally here, now. In absolute presence, there is no separation between observer and observed. You are not you looking at a tree. There is simply the unified, seamless experience of treeing. There is no mental commentary. There is no desire for the moment to be any different than it is. There is no striving, no seeking, no becoming. There is only being. It is not a trance. It is not a fuzzy, blissful state of detachment. On the contrary, it is a state of ultimate clarity, focus, and connection. Every sense is awake and alive. You are more grounded in your body than ever before, more connected to the physical world than you have ever been. But this connection is effortless. There is a profound sense of rightness, a deep peace that comes from the cessation of all internal conflict. Everything is exactly as it should be, simply because it is. This is the state often pointed to as the ultimate goal of contemplative traditions. It is satori in Zen, samadhi in yoga. It is the experience of enlightenment, not as a grand explosive event, but as the simple, quiet, and radical acceptance of the present moment, exactly as it is. It is the end of the search. The journey inward has led you to the startling realization that you are already at your destination. You are already whole, already complete, already at peace. All that was required was to stop running, to stop thinking, to stop seeking, and to simply be present with what is. This is the pinnacle of the inner journey. It is a return to a state of innocence and simplicity, but it is an earned simplicity, one that comes after the exploration of all complexity. We have reached the center of the labyrinth. We have found the silent, peaceful core of our own being. But our journey is not over. For after such a profound dive into these inner realms, the return journey to our normal world can be the strangest trip of all. We must now begin Act 5, where we discover what happens when reality itself begins to feel like a dream.
Number 41. The Waking Dream State. Reality with Dream Logic. We have returned from the absolute presence of the inner world, from the silent core of being. The journey back should be simple, like waking from a normal night's sleep, but it is not. After touching such profound states, the mind does not simply reboot to its factory settings. Instead, it brings a piece of the dream world back with it, overlaying it onto the fabric of reality. We now enter a state where the solid, predictable world begins to operate by the fluid, bizarre rules of a dream. This is the waking dream state. This state, also known as derealization, is the profound feeling that the world around you is not real. It feels like a movie, a simulation, a stage play in which you are an unwilling actor. Everything looks as it should, but it lacks the weight and substance of reality. People's actions seem scripted, colors feel flat, and there's a constant nagging feeling that you might wake up at any moment. But the true signature of this state is the intrusion of dream logic into waking life. In a dream, bizarre coincidences are normal. You think of a long-lost friend, and they suddenly appear. In the waking dream state, this begins to happen in reality. You'll have a thought, and the external world will immediately reflect it in a way that feels statistically impossible. This is a form of synchronicity,
but it feels so constant and direct that it erodes your belief in a random universe. Time itself begins to behave like it does in a dream. It can stretch and compress unpredictably. You might experience strange loops or glitches, moments where reality seems to skip or repeat. The linear, predictable flow of time dissolves, replaced by a more fluid, subjective experience. Your own thoughts lose their logical structure. They might become highly symbolic and metaphorical, just like in a dream analysis. You see hidden meanings everywhere. A random advertisement on a billboard feels like a direct, personal message from the universe. A casual conversation with a stranger feels laden with profound, cryptic significance. The world becomes a web of symbols, and you are at its center. This state can be a side effect of profound spiritual or meditative experiences, where the deconstruction of normal reality leaves you temporarily unmoored. It can also be a response to intense stress or trauma, where the mind creates a sense of unreality as a protective buffer. While it can feel deeply unsettling, it is also a state of heightened creativity and insight. By seeing the world through the lens of a dream, you can spot connections and patterns that you would normally miss. You are viewing reality not as a collection of separate objects, but as a single, interconnected story. But if the world is a dream, and you know it, what happens when you try to apply that knowledge? What happens when you realize, with a sudden jolt, that this waking dream is actually real? The mind's capacity for confusion is endless, leading us to our next state, the bizarre paradox of reverse lucidity.
Number 42. Reverse lucidity. Realizing you're awake while dreaming you're awake. In the waking dream state, reality felt like a dream. We walked through a world imbued with dream logic. Now, we encounter a moment of cognitive whiplash, a lucid moment so bizarre it turns the entire concept on its head. This is the strange, paradoxical experience of reverse lucidity. Imagine you're in the waking dream state. The world feels unreal, floaty, and symbolic. You are convinced you're in some kind of highly realistic dream. You decide to prove it. In a normal lucid dream, you would perform a reality check, like trying to push your fingers through your hand, expecting it to work because it's a dream. But in reverse lucidity, you do the same. You try to push your fingers through your hand, fully expecting them to pass through, and they don't. Your hand is solid. You try to fly, and you remain firmly on the ground. You try to change the scene with a thought, and nothing happens. In that moment, you have a shocking realization, the exact opposite of a normal lucid dream. The realization is, oh my God, this is real. I am awake. This is reverse lucidity. It is the moment you become lucid not to the fact that you are dreaming, but to the fact that you are not dreaming in a situation where you were previously convinced you were. The feeling is one of profound shock and disorientation. All the evidence pointed to this being a dream, but the hard, unyielding laws of physics have just slapped you in the face. It's a double take on the nature of reality itself. First, your mind convinced you that reality was a dream. Now, reality has convinced your mind that it is, in fact, real. This state can be deeply unsettling. It can make you feel like you're losing your grip as your own perception has become so unreliable.
It demonstrates how powerful our internal beliefs are in shaping our experience. If you believe strongly enough that the world is a dream, your mind will interpret everything through that lens until it is confronted with undeniable, contradictory evidence. This state often happens as a way of grounding oneself after profound spiritual experiences or periods of intense derealization. It's the brain's way of reestablishing the boundary between fantasy and reality. It's the final click as the software of the mind resyncs with the hardware of the physical world. It's a reality check that actually works, and the result is a sudden, sometimes jarring return to consensus reality. It's a moment of waking up within wakefulness. It is the ultimate testament to the mind's ability to fool itself, and then to correct itself. It's the process of recalibrating your belief system in real time. But if the mind is capable of creating such a powerful belief that reality is a dream, what about its ability to create other things? What if it can invent not just beliefs, but entire, detailed memories of events that never, ever happened? We are about to explore the deceptive world of the memory mirage.
Number 43. Memory Mirage. Inventing memories that feel true. We have just experienced the shock of realizing our waking state is real after believing it was a dream. This demonstrated the mind's power to create a false belief. Now we explore an even more subtle and pervasive power, the mind's ability to create a false past. This is not about misremembering a detail. It is the spontaneous generation of a complete, rich, and emotionally resonant memory of an event that never occurred. This is the state we call a memory mirage. Imagine having a casual conversation with a friend about childhood vacations. As they talk, a vivid memory suddenly surfaces in your mind. You remember a specific trip to the beach with your family. You can see the green and white striped umbrella. You can smell the salty air. You can feel the gritty texture of the sand. You can hear your father's laughter. The memory is detailed, sensory, and emotionally warm. You begin to tell your friend about it, only to have your mother, who is also there, say, "What are you talking about? We never went to that beach. That never happened." This is the core of the memory mirage, also known as a confabulation. It is not lying. A lie is a deliberate attempt to deceive. A memory mirage is an honest mistake made by the brain's storytelling department. The memory feels 100% authentic to the person experiencing it. The brain, in its constant effort to create a coherent and complete personal narrative, will sometimes encounter a gap in the story. This gap might be due to normal forgetting, brain injury, or psychological trauma. Instead of leaving a blank space, the brain's creative centers will fill in the blank by generating a plausible memory. It will borrow bits and pieces from other real memories, a striped umbrella you saw in a movie, the feeling of sand from a different trip, your father's laugh from a birthday party, and seamlessly stitch them together into a new fictional event. The most fascinating part is that the conscious mind is completely unaware this has happened. It accepts the newly minted memory as a genuine piece of its history. This phenomenon shows that our memory is not a video recorder accurately playing back the past. It is a dynamic, creative, and reconstructive process. Every time we remember something, we are not accessing a pristine file. We are rebuilding the event from scratch. And sometimes,
The rebuilding process includes new, unsourced material. The memory mirage is a powerful reminder that our sense of self is built on a story, and that story is, to some degree, a work of fiction. Our past is not as solid as we think. It is a constantly evolving narrative, edited and embellished by the brilliant but sometimes unreliable storyteller in our own mind. The mind can invent a false past. But what happens when it gets stuck trying to invent an infinite number of possible futures, spinning itself into a dizzying vortex of thought? We are about to get lost in the thought spiral.
Number 44. The Thought Spiral. Getting lost in infinite possibilities. We've seen how the mind can invent a fictional past. Now we turn to a state where the mind becomes obsessed with inventing an infinite number of possible futures, trapping itself in a dizzying, self-perpetuating loop of what-ifs. This is not calm planning. This is a chaotic, downward spiral of anxious contemplation. This is the state of mind known as the thought spiral. It often starts with a single, simple worry. Did I lock the front door? A normal response would be to check the door or to rely on the memory of having locked it. But in a thought spiral, the mind refuses to accept that certainty. The initial thought, did I lock the door, immediately branches out. What if I didn't? Someone could get in. What if they steal my laptop? I have that important project on it. What if I lose my job? What if I can't pay my rent? In a matter of seconds, a simple, solvable question has spiraled into a catastrophic future of homelessness. This is the essence of anxious rumination. Each negative thought doesn't resolve. It gives birth to two more. The mind is no longer a tool for problem solving. It has become a factory for producing worst-case scenarios. It's like a search engine that only shows you the most terrifying results. This state is characterized by a feeling of being completely trapped within your own head. The external world fades away. All that exists is the looping, branching labyrinth of your own thoughts. You are both the prisoner and the prison guard. The spiral is often fueled by a desperate search for certainty in an uncertain world. The mind wants a 100% guarantee that nothing bad will happen, and since that guarantee is impossible, it continues to spin, searching for an answer it will never find. Neurologically, this state is often associated with hyperactivity in certain brain circuits, particularly between the prefrontal cortex, our planning center, and the amygdala, our fear center. The amygdala detects a potential threat and sends an alarm signal. The prefrontal cortex, instead of calming the alarm by assessing the threat rationally, gets caught up in it, analyzing every possible permutation of the threat, which in turn makes the amygdala even more active. It's a vicious feedback loop. Breaking out of a thought spiral requires shifting your attention from the content of the thoughts to the process of thinking itself. It requires engaging the senses to ground yourself back in the physical reality of the present moment, feeling the texture of your chair, listening to the sounds in the room, focusing on your breath. It's about realizing that you are not the storm. You are the sky in which the storm is happening. The thought spiral is a state of being lost in a maze of your own creation. But what if, in that solitary maze, you get the distinct and unnerving feeling that you are actually not alone? We are about to explore the subtle but powerful feeling of the invisible companion.
Number 45.
The invisible companion, feeling a presence that isn't there. After getting lost in the isolating maze of a thought spiral, we now encounter a state that pierces that solitude in a deeply unnerving way. This is not a visual or auditory impression. It is a powerful, primal, and purely intuitive feeling. It is the unshakable conviction that someone or something is in the room with you, right beside you, or just behind you, even when your eyes and ears tell you that you are completely alone. This is the state of mind that generates the feeling of an invisible companion or a sensed presence. It's a feeling that has been reported by people in all walks of life, often under specific conditions. It is frequently experienced by mountain climbers and solo adventurers at high altitudes or under extreme physical stress. They report a comforting feeling of a companion climbing with them, offering encouragement. It's also common during periods of intense grief, where a person might feel the comforting, familiar presence of a lost loved one in their home. And it can also be terrifying. A malevolent presence felt in a dark room during states of sleep paralysis or intense fear. The feeling itself is distinct. It's not just a vague suspicion. It's a spatially located sensation. You feel the presence to your left or over your shoulder. It has a weight and a reality to it that is completely convincing, even though there is no sensory evidence to support it. So, what is happening in the brain? Research suggests this state is another fascinating trick of the temporal parietal junction, the same brain region implicated in out-of-body experiences. The TPJ is responsible for creating our sense of self in space. Scientists have been able to induce the feeling of a sensed presence in the lab by sending conflicting sensory and motor signals to a subject's brain. For example, they would have a subject move their hand, and a robot would simultaneously stroke their back. When the movement and the sensation are perfectly in sync, nothing happens. But when a slight delay is introduced, the brain gets confused. It generates the sensation of its own movement, but it attributes the delayed sensation on the back to an other, a silent, phantom person who is mimicking its actions. The brain is essentially projecting a copy of its own sense of self into the space around it. It creates a ghost from its own signals. This state is a powerful example of how our brain strives to make sense of the world. When it receives confusing or contradictory information, it will create a narrative to explain it. In this case, the narrative is, "I am not alone." This deep-seated feeling of a presence, this invisible friend or foe, is a testament to our nature as social creatures. Even when we are completely alone, our brain has the capacity to create a companion for us out of thin air, just to make sense of its own crossed wires. Our mind can create a companion. It can create memories. But what happens when these creations become so intertwined that the mind can no longer tell the difference between what it dreamed and what it lived? We are now entering the fog of the reality merge. Number 46. Reality merge, when dream and memory become indistinguishable. We've felt the presence of an invisible other. Now we confront a state where the other is our own past, but a past that has become hopelessly tangled. This is a state of deep cognitive fog, where the firm boundary that separates the memories of your waking life from the memories of your dream life completely dissolves. This is the reality merge. In this state, you can no longer reliably tell whether an event actually happened or if you just dreamed that it happened. You might have a clear memory of having an important conversation with your boss. You remember the details, the dialogue, the outcome. You proceed with your day based on this memory, only to be met with confusion from your boss who has no idea what you're talking about. The conversation never took place outside of your own head. Conversely, you might dismiss a strange, hazy memory as just a dream, only to have a friend bring up the event later, proving that the bizarre, dreamlike experience was in fact real. This is more profound than a simple memory mirage, which is a single false memory. The reality merge is a systemic failure of your brain's source monitoring function. Source monitoring is the mental process we use to tag our memories with contextual information. Where did I learn this? Who told me this? Did this happen in real life? Or did I see it in a movie? Or did I dream it? It's the brain's filing system. In a state of reality merge, this filing system crashes. The tags that say real memory and dream memory become corrupted or fall off entirely. Your mind is now a library where the nonfiction and fiction sections have been randomly mixed together, and you have no card catalog to sort them out. This state can be caused by a number of factors: chronic sleep deprivation, high levels of stress, or certain neurological conditions can impair the brain's ability to properly encode and tag memories. The result is a profound sense of uncertainty about your own past and your own experiences. You begin to doubt your own mind. It can be deeply unsettling to lose trust in the one thing that constructs your entire reality. This state forces us to appreciate the incredible silent work our brain does every second to maintain a stable and coherent narrative of our lives. It is constantly sorting, tagging, and fact-checking our experiences. The reality merge is what happens when that silent, diligent librarian gets overwhelmed and gives up. We are left adrift in a sea of untagged memories, unable to find the solid ground of a verifiable past. We've seen how dreams and reality can merge in our memory. But what if the dream state is not just for creating stories, but for solving real-world problems while we are completely unconscious? We are about to discover the hidden genius of sleep thinking.
Number 47. Sleep thinking. Solving problems without waking up. We have just navigated the confusing fog where dreams and real memories merge. Now we shift our focus to a more productive and mysterious aspect of the dreaming mind. Its incredible, often overlooked ability to work on complex problems and deliver elegant solutions to our waking consciousness. This is not active lucid dreaming. This is the background processing power of the brain at work. This is the phenomenon of sleep thinking. We've all heard the famous stories. The chemist Auguste Kekulé, struggling to understand the structure of the benzene molecule, dreamed of a snake biting its own tail and woke up with the revolutionary insight of the benzene ring. Paul McCartney famously said the entire melody for the song Yesterday came to him in a dream. These are not just happy accidents. They are powerful examples of the mind's ability to continue working on a problem even when we are completely unconscious. The process is fascinating. During the day, our conscious mind, led by the prefrontal cortex, attacks a problem with focused, linear, logical thinking. But sometimes, this focused approach can get us stuck. We become fixated on a particular way of thinking and can't see the problem from a new perspective. When we go to sleep, the logical prefrontal cortex goes offline. This allows our mind to enter a more flexible, associative, and creative state. During sleep, and particularly during REM sleep, the brain is wildly active, replaying the day's events and forming new connections between seemingly unrelated ideas. It is no longer bound by the rules of logic. It can make leaps of intuition that the waking mind would dismiss as absurd. The dreaming mind can take the problem of the benzene molecule and connect it to the ancient symbol of the Ouroboros. It can take random fragments of melody and weave them into a perfect, coherent tune. When you wake up, the solution can feel like it has appeared out of nowhere, a gift from the gods. But it is not a gift. It is the result of hours of powerful, non-linear, offline processing done by the incredible supercomputer in your skull. You did the work. You just weren't conscious for it. This state shows us that thinking is not limited to our waking logical mind. We have a second, parallel processor that is constantly working in the background, making connections and finding novel solutions. Learning to harness this ability is a powerful life hack. By immersing yourself in a problem before bed, you are essentially loading the program for your sleeping mind to run. The old adage, "Let me sleep on it," is not just a way to delay a decision. It is a genuine cognitive strategy. After the dream solves a problem, we wake up. But the story isn't quite over. What about that lingering, magical, and melancholic feeling that hangs in the air after a particularly powerful dream? We must now explore the final gentle moments of the post-dream reverie.
Number 48. Post-dream reverie, the lingering story after the end. The problem has been solved by our sleeping mind. The morning has come, and we are awake. But sometimes a dream is so powerful, so emotionally resonant, that it refuses to let go of us. Its story continues to play out in the theater of our minds, long after the curtain has fallen. This is not the emotional echo of a forgotten dream. This is the conscious, willing engagement with a story you remember. This is the beautiful, bittersweet state of the post-dream reverie. Imagine you wake from a dream where you were reunited with a loved one who has passed away. The dream was vivid, joyful, and deeply comforting. When you wake up, the rational part of your mind knows it was a dream, but you choose not to immediately shake it off. Instead, you lie still. You close your eyes again, not to go back to sleep, but to hold on to the feeling. You replay the dream in your mind, savoring the details, continuing the conversation, clinging to the warmth of the experience. This is the reverie. It is a conscious, meditative state where you voluntarily blur the line between memory and imagination. You are deliberately holding the vibration of the dream in your consciousness. It's the mental equivalent of the warmth that lingers on your skin after the sun has gone behind a cloud. This state is an act of emotional integration. It allows us to gently process the powerful feelings that the dream brought up. For a beautiful dream, it's a way to prolong the joy and comfort. For a difficult or challenging dream, the reverie can be a safe space
to analyze its meaning and come to terms with its message without the full, terrifying immersion of being back in the dream itself. The post-dream reverie is where we become our own storytellers. We take the raw material of the dream and continue to weave the narrative. We give it a new ending, or we explore a different path. It's a moment of co-creation between our sleeping self and our waking self. It is a deeply personal and intimate state. It's that quiet, sacred time in the morning before the noise of the day begins, a final conversation with the mysterious other half of our own mind. It's a gentle goodbye to the world we just left. But not all dream worlds are so easy to leave. What happens when the dream ends, but you find yourself trapped in a mental maze, desperately searching for an exit that may not even exist? We are now entering the psychological labyrinth of the endless corridor.
Number 49. The endless corridor. Searching for the exit that doesn't exist. We have savored the gentle afterglow of a beautiful dream. Now we must confront a state that is the complete opposite. This is the mental state that can linger after a frustrating or anxious dream, a feeling of being stuck in an unresolved loop, a psychological maze from which there is no escape. This is the state of mind of the endless corridor. The dream itself might have been simple. You were in a large, unfamiliar building, a hotel, an office, a hospital, and you were trying to find the way out. You would walk down a long corridor, open a door, only to find it led to another, identical corridor. Every turn, every staircase led you deeper into the building, never closer to the exit. You wake up with a feeling of relief, but the feeling of the dream, the claustrophobia, the frustration, the sense of being hopelessly lost, lingers, and it can color your entire day. In this waking state, every problem you face feels like another endless corridor. A simple task at work feels insurmountably complex. A minor disagreement in a relationship feels like a maze of misunderstandings with no resolution in sight. You feel mentally trapped, as if you're still searching for that exit. This is more than just a bad mood. It is a cognitive state, a mental model that has been carried over from the dream world. The dream has primed your brain to see the world as a series of unsolvable puzzles. The feeling is one of cyclical, futile effort. You are spinning your wheels, walking in circles, and getting nowhere. This state is a powerful metaphor for the feeling of being stuck in your waking life. When you are facing a problem that seems to have no solution, or when you feel trapped in a life situation you can't escape, your dreaming mind will often create a literal, physical representation of that feeling. The endless corridor, the house with no doors, the ladder with missing rungs. The dream is a diagnosis. The lingering feeling of the endless corridor during the day is the symptom. It is your mind's way of screaming for your attention, telling you that there is a fundamental, unresolved issue that needs to be addressed. It is a state of profound mental frustration. It's the feeling of searching for a key to a lock that was never meant to be opened. We have felt the frustration of searching for an exit that doesn't exist. We have traveled through 49 states of mind, from the edge of sleep to the depths of the self, and back again. But now we arrive at the final, most unsettling realization of all. The entire journey has been a loop. The exit we've been searching for leads right back to the beginning. We must now face the threshold again. Number 50. The threshold again. Realizing you never fully woke up. Our journey is complete. We have explored the landscapes of the mind, from the gentle drift into sleep to the existential vertigo of our return. We have analyzed, categorized, and named 49 distinct states of consciousness. We have crossed every bridge and navigated every labyrinth. We have arrived at the end. But here, at the final destination, a horrifying thought begins to bloom. It is the synthesis of everything we have learned. It is the waking dream, the false awakening, and the endless corridor, all rolled into one final devastating insight. You look around. The world still has that slightly unreal, dreamlike quality. The synchronicities are still happening. The emotional echoes are still there. You perform a reality check. You push your fingers against your palm, and this time, they slide right through. You realize, with a shock that eclipses everything that came before it, that this entire journey, all 50 states, the analysis, the feeling of discovery, even this very moment of realization, has been a dream. A single, colossal, impossibly detailed dream. You never woke up from that first false awakening. You never left the threshold. This entire exploration of the 50 states of mind was simply the dream's own way of analyzing itself. The feeling is one of absolute awe and terror. The map you have been carefully drawing has been a map of the inside of a bottle you have been trapped in the entire time. Every state, from sleep paralysis to ego dissolution, was just a different room in this grand, illusory palace of the mind. This is not a state to be analyzed. It is the state that contains all analysis. It is the ultimate nested dream, the one from which there seems to be no escape. It poses the final, unanswerable question of our journey. What is real, and how would you ever know for sure? It suggests that our concept of being awake is just another state of consciousness, perhaps no more valid or real than any other. Maybe life itself is a form of lucid dream, and we're all just slowly learning the rules. Or maybe there is a dreamer behind it all, a consciousness so vast that our entire lives are but a fleeting thought within its mind. We are left here, at the threshold once more, but this time looking out with new eyes. We are left with the profound, humbling, and endless mystery of our own minds. The journey is the destination. The search is the discovery. And the final, terrifying, and beautiful truth may be that you are dreaming right now.